All right, just introduce to you that we are starting the Activism Week 2021, courtesy of Forum Sieve, Toweza Communications, under the great program Wajibu Wetu. And we are here at the National Museums of Kenya, kama ukumbi tuliochagua kufanya shughuli hii. And of course, we are looking at how activism, the use of art has been used and is influencing a change in this country. Conversations around democracy, human rights, gender equality, equity, mainstreaming, and of course, leadership and management. Our hashtag today is Activism Week. Our hashtag is Activism Week. We'll be live on Facebook page. We are live on Facebook page, Forum Sieve official Facebook page. And we are also live on YouTube. We are also live on Twitter, hashtag Activism Week. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on Twitter, start tagging. Use the hashtag Activism Week. This will be a conversation for the next 3 days. We are celebrating Activism Week. We'll be here for the next 3 days. Today is, of course, 12th, and we're going to end on 14th. So it's an amazing program. And of course, just to remind you, we are celebrating Activism Week, and also we'll be launching a very important report known as Jukumu report by Toweza Communications and Forum Sieve. So ladies and gentlemen, kama ulikuwa umepanga pengine unakuja leo kesho uingie mitini, na kuambia jamani, tunapoanza tutaanza kwa kasi ya polepole, lakini tutamaliza kwa kasi ya juu. Kwa hivyo make sure you don't miss even a single session. You get inspired, motivated, and ignite the fire in you to be one of the change makers in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, just start us off this morning, 12th October 2021 is a Tuesday morning. I request that we all rise onto our feet. Tusimame tafadhali. Tusimame tafadhali. We rise onto our feet so that we can together start this amazing program. Tafadhali, yule hajanisikia, naomba tusimame. We can only spare those who have special ability, recognized by the Constitution. So just about now, I want to request my very good friend here to lead us in prayer, and then we proceed the national anthem, possibly move to East Africa anthem, and then tuendelee from there. My brother, saidi paza sauti hapa, ndugu yangu watupeleke mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Alikuja mbele hapa pamoja, kwa hivyo baraka nimeanza kupeana gift. Gift ya kwanza ni hiyo, kumpa nafasi, fursa, atupeleke mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Mpigieni makofi tafadhali, a round of applause. Thank you. Microphone. Kaka, kwa unataka kuonekana kwenye jukwaa? Njoo bana. Mpigieni makofi tafadhali. Keep on clapping, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on clapping. Yes, let us motivate each other. Activism Week. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep on clapping, please. Keep on clapping. Keep on. Yeah. Keep on. Just keep on. Just keep on. Thank you. Thank you, Sanitizer Man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, MC Songora. God is good all the time, and all the time God is good, and that's his nature. Wow. Kila haja ina shari, waijua yake siri, ivunje yake dhamiri, asiweze kusimama. May God protect us, and may our event be a success. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Pigeni makofi tafadhali. Thank you, my brother. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we want to proceed to the national anthem. We are patriotic Kenyans, and this reminds us how patriotic we should be and maintain the dignity in this country. Tusimame wima kwa wimbo wa taifa. DJ.
Mungu nguvu yetu.
All right. Jipigieni makofi. Afrika Mashariki. Afrika Mashariki.
Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before you sit, turn to your neighbor, please. Turn to your neighbor. Your neighbor is not me, your neighbor. Yes, please. Muangalie macho kwa macho. Facial expression. Put a smile. I know umevaa mask haionekani. Mwambie I love you. I love you. I love you so much. Nakupenda nyanga nyanga. Alright, jipigie makofi. Mpatie elbow tafadhali. Just give a elbow. Mpatie elbow jirani yako. I know kusalimiana ni noma ni ngori. Mpatie elbow. So just about now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. DJ, you know, Activism Week na watu Activism huwa wamechangamka. So before we sit, DJ, una kibao bamba cha mapambano. DJ bado, nitafutie kibao, utaendelea baadaye. Ladies and gentlemen, I request that we can now sit now. Jipigieni makofi tafadhali. We can sit now, but be prepared that tutasimama tukikaa, tutaamka tukikaa. Hiyo ndio order ya sehemu hii. Activism is all about standing and sitting down, standing for what is right. So just about now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on stage the first walking fire, the ignition. This is an amazing poet, a person that I've known for almost 3 years now. And every day I meet this person, this gentleman. Every day I see some more fire. You say more fire, more fire. This gentleman has been one among the few in this country who have decided to make the top seat uncomfortable to sit on. He calls on impunity. He tells it out without fear, but of course using art, the power of art to change. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, put your hands together, put your hands together for Willie Whoever. Keep on clapping. Keep on clapping. Keep on clapping. Willie Whoever, known very well for the pieces such as Mr. President. Of course, keep on clapping. Known for the pieces such as Mr. Deputy President. An amazing piece on this girl. Of course, a champion on women change. Mpigeni makofi, Willie Whoever. Keep on clapping. Willie Whoever is going to do us a very good one piece very short, and then to endele. Keep on clapping, please. This is fire coming on stage. Yes, keep on clapping. The microphone's here, my brother, Willie Whoever. Asante sana. Willie Whoever. Willie Whoever. Tunasema kule pwani, tupungishie unyunyu.
Pungusha unyunyu. Mungu anasaidia. Are you happy to be here? You're here to be happy. Both. You're happy to be here. You all look beautiful. Mnakaa vizuri. My name is Willie Whoever, and this piece inaitwa Tribute to Mama. Well, I write for girls. I write for girls who don't know why I write. I write for girls who don't understand how I write. I write for girls who don't appreciate how I write. So to all the girls who have ever broken my heart, just know my mama doesn't like you. So never ask a girl why she is in love with you. Well, more so when it doesn't make you so happy when you look into the mirror, because these girls can be very petty. You see, maybe she's in love with the way you look when you sleep. And if she dare tells you it's because of your personality, then maybe you don't look as good. It is better she tells you she doesn't know why than she has no reason. When these girls decide to leave you, they will find any reason. These girls be like, the problem is me, not you. Any woman would want to be with you, and these girls tell you this: congratulations, for you have found yourself a new ex-girlfriend, and your girlfriend, sorry, your former girlfriend has a new boyfriend. These girls don't like it when you have so much time and too little money to spend. These girls like it when you're truthful but not the truth that you don't have money. So most of these boys have to pretend. Well, these girls cry. These girls cry when they're happy. These girls cry when they're mad. These girls cry when they're scared. All I'm trying to say, sometimes these girls cry when they're not supposed to. These girls will fall in love with you for the comedian that you are. But once you get into a relationship, you cease being funny. Some of these girls knock on open doors. The way some of these girls have saved you on their phones, only God knows. Well, these boys act funny, but these girls won't tell because they have shaved this. Now you know why they can't raise their eyebrows. But I'll say it for the last time. No girl should miss school because of a menses, period. Because my mama never raised voices. She raised the sun. So I toast to the man that I am. You see, I use my mama's second name now because she is masculine, with belly muscles that stretch from the first, second, third to the 9th month, but even stronger lip muscles that utter words that move my soul. You call this the strength of a woman. These are just words that have motherly touch from my mama in low tones, whispers, and mama. You see, she has figure, trust me. Forget about that because she's my fatherly figure now. 8 won't match. She's fast in this chat list. Not on the anatomy of the waist downwards, but from the neck upwards. Now she's the head of the family. Well, these words are sick because she has blood pressure that won't kill her. Her smile is sweeter than diabetes. The mortality of a smile defies the fact from dust to dust because she's never upset. Unlike the soil, when you add water, she never turns mad. She's the little kind of short people you'll ever strain to look up to. Her head is like a furnished 6-story building because she is smart upstairs. Tribute to mama.
All right, all right. A round of applause. Kaka njoo huku bwana. Wewe uliondoka lini stage namna hiyo? Tuheshimiane. Ukikaribishwa kwenye jukwaa la watu uondoke mpaka uombe uondoke.
Asante.
A round of applause and gentlemen. Let us appreciate this great artist.
Yes.
Willie Oeba.
Yes, sir.
A very simple question for you. Why do you write a lot about women?
I write a lot about women because everything that I am today is because, yeah, strength of a woman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Appreciate this, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Strength of a woman. Just a little bit light on that.
Yeah.
Strength of a woman.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So I was raised by a single mom.
All right.
And I saw her struggles. She had to do everything. In my piece, I did an album last year. There's a piece I did in it with Dear Dad.
All right.
And ninasema kwa hiyo piece, at times landlord aliongeza kifuli moja maybe to make it safer. So tulikuwa tu hapo tunaona kila kitu, but aku relent, still kept going on, and that is why we are here today.
All right.
Yeah.
So we are marking Activism Week. Tumeanza leo. It's a journey.
Kabisa.
We have 3 days in this amazing,
And yesterday was International Day for the Girl Child.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Now connecting it. And today we are mainly focusing on poetry.
Yeah.
And I believe you're a poet, aren't you?
I am.
You are.
My life is a poem.
Why poetry?
Yeah?
Why poetry?
Because the idea is to express myself. I'm not a poet. I am an expressionist.
All right.
So all I do is express myself, then people call that poetry.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does poetry mean to you?
Poetry means everything. Poetry is expression. Poetry is a tool I use to speak out, to amplify voices. Poetry means day-to-day lives. Poetry means reflection of the society. Poetry to me means leadership.
All right.
Yeah? So to me, poetry is life. Because word is life, but life is just a word.
Do we believe the kind of work we are doing as poets is impacting anything in this country?
Yes, it does, a lot. Last time we said we are not where we want to be, but we have to respect the fact that we are not where we used to be.
All right.
So the idea is to spark the mind that will change the world, because true leadership is in delegation. So we are setting the agenda, pole pole. We will get there. Because change, all this enye tunafanya is a process, not a destination. So we are sparking that mind, pole pole, and we will get there, trust me.
So always we have what we call monitoring and evaluation, just to evaluate how poetry has impacted change in this country.
Yeah.
Just name me one thing or agenda that you believe poetry influenced.
Yeah. So there was this lady who was trapped. Oh, and perfect example, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Wanja.
Aha.
Yeah. So Wanja Kimani, she was in Saudi Arabia. Then she was to come back to Kenya. And we used poetry, we used the Twitter, we used social media last year. Tulifanya mambo huko mpaka karudi. We went live everywhere, we trended on Twitter, but it came among poets kwanza. And then they amplified voices. It went mainstream. People started talking about it, and she came back home.
All right.
Yeah.
Just to wrap this conversation this morning, we are starting that Activism Week, and today is day one.
Day one.
You as Willie Weba,
Yes.
what are your expectations?
I am expected, my expectations. I expect to learn a lot. I expect to unaitaje kuwa energized. Your motto iko wapi? Your motto nataka ikuwe sparked. Yeah. So because the places kama hizi, such platforms that the creatives come to learn, creatives come to hear, and then they decode every beautiful conversations zenye zitakuwa hapo on stage.
All right.
They go right. Yeah.
Asante sana. Mpigieni makofi, ladies and gentlemen. Let's appreciate Willie Oeba. Willie Oeba, the legend. I really follow his work on YouTube. Please take your phone, go on YouTube, search for Willie Oeba, and get energized from there. Ladies and gentlemen, just about now, as we proceed with this amazing program, thank you, Willie, for starting us off. Just now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome on stage one and only, of course, as I mentioned earlier, that this program is made possible through the partnership of Forum Civ and Toweza Communications, not forgetting under the great program Wajibu Wetu. Our hashtag is Activism Week. We are on Twitter. We are live on Facebook. You can follow the conversation online. Official Forum Civ Facebook page. We are also live on YouTube. So if you on Facebook, unaweza kuingia YouTube, you can share the link with your family, friends. You can share the link with your colleagues back at the workplace. You can share the link with your friends online so that they can follow this amazing conversation. As I promised, it's going to be fire. Itakuwa ni moto wa kuotea mbali. We are here to ensure that the narratives that we have in impacting social change, impacting desired democracy and human rights in this country is well respected. Ladies and gentlemen, I now wish to bring on stage, they call him Professor. They call him Professor Kimani Njogu, the CEO or Executive Director, Toweza Communications, so they can give us opening remarks while we are here today. And then we proceed. I will also request him, after that, he welcomes on stage the Regional Hub Manager, Forum Civ, Mr. Jackson Obare. Tuendelee back to back. Ladies and gentlemen, tukae, tukisikiza kwa makini. Pigeni makofi tafadhali. A round of applause, Professor Kimani Njogu, as he comes on stage. Keep on clapping, ladies and gentlemen. This will be our system. All right. Professor Kimani Njogu, karibu.
Asante sana Nick Songora kwa nafasi hii ya kuzungumza na jamaa kwa Kiswahili. Najua kwamba ni muhimu sana wakati mwingine tubadilishe lugha, au sio? Wakati mwingine tuzungumza kwa Kiingereza, wakati mwingine kwa Kiswahili. Lakini kwa sababu natambua kwamba kuna wengine ambao Kiswahili kinakuwa kigumu kwao, itabidi wakati mwingine tubadilishe pia nizungumze kwa Kiingereza. Kwa hivyo nitachanganya lugha Kikenya, sawa? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a pleasure to be here today on the Activism Week, and to just say that this week, this event, is organized by Toweza Communications in partnership, of course, with Forum Civ under the Wajibu Wetu program. Now, we know that art plays multiple functions in society. You cannot have a life without art and creativity. It's inherent to our existence. It makes us happy. It makes us reflect. It makes us think about our environment, our future. It can project backwards. It can project the present. It can project the future. It can actually precede the present. I believe personally that science follows art. Art always precedes science. So anybody who tells you that art is inconsequential is so wrong. Because if we take the view that the human person is a piece of art, you know, we are creatures of art. We precede science. Science follows us. That's why I believe very strongly that in the new dispensation with regard to education, art must be at the center of our educational system. So at Toyota Communication, we work with art, culture, and media for social transformation. You know, we believe very strongly that even as we entertain, even as we make the world happier, we have a responsibility of making it better. This is our responsibility as human beings. And therefore, we create knowledge, we disseminate knowledge, we share knowledge, we create content, we engage with policies, we shift perspectives, and so on. So that's what we try to do. And because I'll be talking quite a bit on Thursday, as we are launching the Jukumu reports, I want to stop there and just say thank you so much for being with us today and tomorrow and Thursday. And really to ask you to be generous with your ideas, to be generous with your sharing, so that together we can actually create a better nation that is more inclusive, that is more caring. At this moment, I would like to invite...
Yes, before you invite...
Yes, sir.
Before you invite Professor, I know you're almost winding up. You want to invite another speaker on stage. Of course, I was really interested to know, as Professor, how has poetry impacted your work as an individual and also as an institution towards communications?
So, actually, I have some poetry I've written over time.
All right.
And I write not just in English, but also in Kiswahili. I believe in poetry, especially its ability to use language and imagery and environment to really comment about the human condition. So, so I express myself through poetry, but I think that I express myself even better through theater, through plays and so on.
All right.
So the two, and I see poetry everywhere. I see poetry in theater, I see poetry in the novel, I see poetry in the rhythm of life generally. Mm-hmm. I see poetry in every single space. So at Toyota Communication, of course, we create content, and whatever content we create is poetic by its very nature. Yeah.
All right. Just to know, you say you've written pieces. Where could these great people and those following us online find these pieces? Are they available on social media?
Well, some of them are available in journals.
Okay.
I have some pieces in the music of poetry by Wavine Olembo. There is some poetry that's published there. There is some translated poetry of Abdulatif Abdallah, which I've translated into Gikuyu actually. Sauti ya Dhiki, you know, and Shishielo Nililo, and so forth. So powerful poetry from Abdulatif translated into Gikuyu and available in journals. So I'm an occasional poet, principally, not a regular poet. Yeah.
So just to wind up this conversation, do you see a future in poetry in this country, or impunity calls it shots?
Yeah, I think that one of the challenges we have in this country is to assume that all that we can continue in the way that we have lived. Mm-hmm. I think there is a tremendous opportunity, really, to use poetry and to use other forms of literary works to shift thinking around issues of corruption, around issues of lack of accountability of our leaders, and to shift thinking, and also actually to see young people as capable of leading this country without waiting until they become very old. And I think that poetry provides us, because if you had to take the view that all music is actually poetry. All music is actually poetry. If you take that view, then you can see music in every aspect of our lives, and that ability for music to not only entertain us, but actually to shift our perspectives about the world, to encourage us to think in a particular way, and actually to also encourage us to become agents of change, agents of social transformation, and so on. So I see a lot of potential. I just want to encourage young people, really, to compose. Compose even when you don't know where you are going to perform. Compose even without knowing where you are going actually to share that piece. So compose all the time. But also compose deliberately, consciously about your environment, about your situation, about the people around you, about your country, you know, about the globe and so on.
Do no harm.
Absolutely, do no harm. Absolutely do no harm. But reflect deeply, you know. Choose your words carefully. Encourage. Take a positive view of life, you know. Do not demean people. Do not suggest that some people are better than others. I think that we are all equal, irrespective of where we are located in time and space, or in terms of our agenda and our orientation.
Yes, of course. Last I repeat, I know this is an agenda for another time, but I wanted people who were here, because there are those who just come, listen, and then disappear. There's this amazing thing called launch of Jukumu report.
Yes.
What is expected?
Yes. So, Twaweza Communication has actually been studying the Wajibu Wetu project.
Yes.
And we've been looking at what people are doing in Moyale, in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Nakuru, in Nairobi. We've been following you guys. We've been trying to see what you do and the level of your commitment to social transformation. And so on Thursday, we will be talking about what you guys are doing, you know, within your communities, and why, you know, you need to continue being encouraged to do that, and even, if possible, to be supported to continue doing the work that you do. You know, so we'll be sharing that. We'll be talking about the role of the creative sector in the political, economic, social, cultural, environmental transformation of our country on Thursday.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please tell your neighbor, don't leave. Be with us for the next 3 days.
Don't leave.
Don't leave. You're going to miss. An applause. Professor, please.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Thank you. I would like now to invite Jackson Obare, the hub manager for UMCIV, to really speak with us this morning.
Applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Prof, for the invite. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Do you have a voice? Good morning. As I was sitting there, I was trying to interpret the drawings here on this chart, and I could see instruments, I could see a microphone, but I could see this is a sun, Prof. What's the significance? Because I think this is creativity of where we are here for the next 3 days. I could have my interpretation, and every person could also have the same. My name is Jackson Obare. It's been introduced, the regional manager for Forum CIV, and I'm here to support Prof. Twaweza Communication in this week of activism, and us also geared towards launching the report, Jukumu report. And before I give my few remarks, to welcome you all, I want to appreciate the work that Prof has been doing. You know, we always say we want evidence-based programming. And for you to have evidence-based programming, you must collect data, and the data from a representative sample of the population. And I think that's what Prof. they have been doing. Prof. has done a complete census of all our partners, and so that data that he has, the report that he's going to launch on the Jukumu reports, really portrays what our partners are doing, and also triangulating from external, work they are doing elsewhere to bring a rich report that is informing us of the next program we're supporting the creatives. How do we go about it? And looking forward to read that report and hear the highlights of that particular report. I also want to thank Prof. And this morning, as I was coming to this venue, I was thinking, maybe the next time we should be hearing Prof's work, Prof receiving the Nobel Prize, because the Nobel Prize for Literature went to Zanzibar, to this Professor Abdrazak, and which is great, meaning it's closer home also. We had the peace one. We are looking properly to also support Prof to claim that space in the future. Creating beyond entertainment is because of the theme, and it is a powerful one, because every time somebody comes on stage, and we have talked this before, it is not for entertainment. It is very educative, listening to the words that are spoken. Listen to Oeba here. If you listen keenly with your heart and also with your head, you realize how deep the message is trying to pass across to us, seated here and those watching us online and the world at large. And so a lot goes into this creativity to ensure that we have a product that really communicates from first the heart of the individual, the emotions and the feelings of the environment that is surrounding us. So art, as he said, when I was in schooling in university, everything was trying to be defined as a science, including things that are not science. So how is literature science, for example? So we want to make everything appear as a science, and yet, even the art itself, we should also be defining how science is an art in itself. So this reverse engineering of things told everything is a science, and I think art is so powerful, we should also be redefining them, how in itself their approach, their methodology reflects art in itself. And for MCF, through the Wajibu Wetu program, funded through the Swedish Embassy Nairobi, we've been supporting diverse nature of partners. Among those partners are the partners that use art, media, and culture for social change. And it has been a rich program supporting these approaches. And I can tell you, we are seeing the dividends of the work that this program supports in this country. These non-violent, non-confrontational ways of sending powerful messages that ordinarily cannot be discussed in panels, in boardrooms, it's really a new way of promoting social change. So allow me to read for you a few points here of why I personally think celebrating this week of activism, which will culminate in the launch of Jukumu reports, and Mike Swale tells me my English Jukumu is rolled, right? And you know our program, I was thinking, Prof was stealing some terminologies from Wajibu Wetu, Wajibu. Then he says, okay, if you have responsibility, it also comes with some specific roles that each and every one of us must really do or carry forward. And I looked at, so I was not here to see when this creating beyond entertainment was being made. So I looked at creativity and innovations as the center of art, because everything that you produce, whether it's a piece of spoken word, whether it is the song that you are producing, there has to be element of creativity and innovation that is highly embedded. And I looked at how then engaging these creative ideas captivates also the audience. So creativity is helping us to engage the mind and enabling alternative ways of thinking. Because more often than not, art is non-linear. It's non-linear thinking approach, because the components that are put together, listening, Will Oeba, who just left the stage, it is not one item that is contained in the message he was delivering to us. Telling you it is not linear thinking, it's not a straight line. He has thought through, different perspectives to bring that message home. And I want to encourage that, because creativity also is with the young people as we engage and be part of the transformative change agenda. This art, which is embedded in creativity and innovation, it also unblocks the old patterns and habits of thinking and allows, as I said, non-linear thinking approach. Because there are old ways of, there are things you could not speak because culture and tradition makes us think so. But new ways and art enables us to challenge those narratives. And that is the key. We are challenging the existing narratives that things cannot be done in a particular way. And art is one of the powerful tools to do that. It also allows us to explore and communicate effectively to the target audience. Toweza communication is what they're doing, content creation is communication of those messages. And through art, they are able to be effective in doing this kind of communication. And it only takes extraordinary mind to understand the message carried in this piece of work. That's why if each and every one of us is asked to interpret a picture you see in front of you, every person will have a different perspective of that particular picture. And those perspectives brought together, then in unison with the author, then you will know what was the intention of the author making that or putting it across. It also helps us, creativity and art, it helps us to convert or connect reflections with actions. Every time you reflect, you want to put into action. Because through action is when people want to start visualizing change. If it remains in your thoughts and you are not expressing it, then we can't know what direction you want us to follow. It also builds intercultural connections, different cultures and subcultures. And this is very powerful. You know, whether it is music, it binds us all together. Everybody wants to listen to this wonderful music. Whether I'm attracted to the rhythm, the beats, it could be a Kikuyu song, for example. I don't hear the words, but I could feel like it is touching my heart. And the way you see people respond to it, and you are connected, then you feel part of it. Then you see these intercultural barriers are broken because of this. This is one example if you are using a music. And every other, whether it is artifacts, every nature of art, it really helps us to connect interculturally. It also helps us to capture ideas, thoughts, and visions about the world. So young people can advocate for themselves and others. So the messages of social change is also meant for you as the author of these messages. But also it means for the wider audience, the wider public, who you want them to see a particular path of a new change of narrative that you want to pursue. And we have progressively used this as young people in different ways, communicating either political messages. We are unsettling in this country ahead of 2022 elections. How better can we also communicate? You have a good message, but also how and where you communicate matters. And if you remember, Jesus knew he came to this world, he was going to die. And he was doing good things, but he was telling those, don't go and share. Why was he saying that? He said, time is not ripe for that to be shared. Even when you have a good message, you also have to weigh how do you want to make this message go out to the audience? And through art, it has always been proven this is a powerful way of conveying these messages to a wider audience. And therefore, through the work, throughout this week, I want to encourage you, and you feel inspired through the collective messages that are going to be advanced to us. There will be different speakers, I know. There will be blended music performances in between. Let us not enjoy only as an entertainment. Let's look beyond, get the messages that is behind these performances as we look through the culmination of the launch of Jukumu reports. And finally, as I was listening to Oeba being interviewed by Songora, he said, you know, he is expressing himself. This is how he's expressing himself. And that defines what art is. And as we express ourselves, let's express ourselves positively to the audience so that they are also able to capture these messages. And I want us to pay attention, particularly to the end of the week when the report is being launched on Thursday, because that is the peak of all this that we are starting today. And I want to wish you well as we listen together and we support this. Let us tweet. Let us also make noise. Sometimes we say we are gentlemen, but we are not. We are doing great things, but we are not telling others to know what we are doing. So kindly let us tell others and invite others to see and follow what we are doing in the next 3 days. Thank you so much.
All right, all right. Before you exit, as always, makofi, ladies and gentlemen, upige makofi tafadhali. Of course, I promise that no one leaves my stage before you engage. All protocols observed. One regional manager for Forum Hub. I'm actually really interested to know one special thing that you're celebrating as a regional manager, of course, with the kind of support you'll be putting across the country to support activism. One thing that we celebrate right now, one special thing that you feel is a celebration.
Thank you so much, Songora. I think sometimes it's difficult to sample one amongst the very many.
All right.
But I think one of the things I will pick are the gains, the platforms that we have been able to create for all people. We call it inclusive participation. And we have been able to go to the rural setups where no other organization can be able to set those forums for engaging the duty bearers, the right holders, and asking all these questions on how their issues can be addressed or are addressed by different duty bearers. So, for example, voices in spaces, we are in Mukuru, we are in Korogosho, everywhere, you can imagine. So I think that's one of the things I could pick as the gains of being inclusive in this social development agenda.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very trick question, but you know, we'd like to know as Forum Hub, what is your plan now? Are we reducing these resources or are we adding more resources to impact more?
Indeed, it is tricky because you already know you're asking a tricky question. I wish I had all the resources I could add to continue.
All right.
But I want to say this. We would be continuing. We've been given a green light to put in a new application for a new phase of the program.
All right.
Starting July next year.
All right.
And so we are not moving away from this space. We are going to be invest more in this space, and we want each and every one of you do their part, and we also do our part, and the donors will also do their part. That's what I'll say.
This is great news, ladies and gentlemen. Pigeni makofi jamani. Forum Civ is here to stay. Keep on clapping, ladies and gentlemen. All right, thank you so much, Regional Hub Manager Bwana Jackson Obare. He's a man of few words, but very good in acting. I wish the DJ would have played music, my friend. Mungetoroka hapa jukwani. All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson Obari. Ladies and gentlemen, just to remind us that we are live on Facebook. You can follow the conversation. We are live on Twitter, hashtag Activism Challenge. Keep on tweeting. I can see people are doing amazing work on Twitter, my friend. Nimeingia huko kidogo, nimeangalia mama yangu. Naona Activism Challenge, Activism Week inatambaa sana. Let us keep on tweeting, let us keep on the conversation. Let the world know that we are here, of course, marking and celebrating Activism Week. And we are here for 3 days, starting today, 12th October, shall be ending on 14th. And the ending won't be just like any other ending, but very special. We'll be launching Jukumu reports, courtesy of Toweza Communications, Forum Sieve, under the great program Kama Kawaida. Program Kama Kawaida. Tunaita wajibu wetu. Ladies and gentlemen, and now, I want to take this opportunity, of course, to bring on stage yet another very important activist. He has been on the industry for so many years, and he has a story to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome to you this great leader, an orator, a performer, director, he's an artist, a cultural worker committed to a just Kenya. He has experience in writing, orator performance, directing, acting, cultural research and policy. He is one of the founding members of Orator Collective. He was a student, leader and performing artist at the Creative and Performing Arts Center at Kenyatta University, where he worked and performed under David Mulwa, Joshua Teye, Professor Francis Mbuga, and Wasambo Were. Ladies and gentlemen, he was a founding deputy national coordinator of the National Theatre Academy, where he worked with, among others, likes of Ben Ateku, Daktari Wanjiku Motia, Mwalimu Austin Bukenya, John C.B. Okumu, Kate Parson, Annabelle Maule, Dr. Mshai Mwangola, Bantiali Wariatu. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me. He is Nairobi Theatre Academy, played an important role in performing arts. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Put your hands together for Miss Abubakar Zain Abubakar. Of course, a man of many hearts, and he has been... Asante sana kiongozi. Asante, karibu. Karibu sana.
I was wondering if it was me. but thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be with you this is it still morning? Yes. So this morning, to speak to you about the contribution of Kenyan artists in democratic change. So, my duty is very difficult. I need to speak to you in a few minutes about a history that is longer than the creation of this country. What I'm about to speak to you about precedes the formation of Kenya. But I'm going to try and make it easy for me, and I hope for you too, by not focusing on the details, but paint with very broad brushes on places, times, events, waves, history, literature, performing arts, fine art, and hopefully that I will invoke names of people who would remind us of who we are, where we are coming from, where we are now, and possibly where we are going. The subject matter touches on who an artist is, talk about Kenya, and talks about democratic change. First and foremost, let me say this is a very broad area and very rich. And that for those who are inclined to become researchers, who want to trace the history, I encourage you that this is a very fertile ground that you can exercise your mind on. So in terms of waves, where do we start? On this day, in this place, where do we start? Hadithi, hadithi. Hadithi, hadithi. If you reply like that, I will go away. It has to be live, it has to be engaged, it has to be captivating. Hadithi, hadithi. Paliondokea chanjagaa, kajenga nyumba kakaa. Mwanangu mwana wa dhiki, sikiza ukihakiki. A chanjagaa is a crab. And it is told that the crab built a house. Not imaginary, on the seashore, built a house with windows and doors. Paliondokea chanjagaa, kajenga nyumba kakaa. Akajenga na vilango na madirisha, maybe even bedroom. Chanjagaa. So at the beginning, when we encountered our history, when do we start? What year do you think we should start? 1900. Somebody's 1800. Somebody says 1800. Anyone else? Anyone before that date? Hapo zamani za kale, kabla ya kuja wageni ambao walikuwa ni maafriti, tulikuwa tuna wageni wengi tu, kutoka China, kutoka India, kutoka Cambodia, kutoka Vietnam, kutoka bara la India na Arabuni. But these visitors were here coming to exchange ideas with us. So the beginning date, and you must put this date in your mind, the beginning date. What Chinua Achebe says when the rains began to beat us. 1498. 1498. The arrival of Vasco da Gama in Mombasa. He stayed for 3 days. On those 3 days, he received a lot of blessings from the people of Mombasa. Fresh water, fresh food, fresh ideas. On the third day, they bombed Mombasa. They introduced what is called shock and awe to these parts of the world. And every time there is oppression, every time there is conquest, because they came to conquer, there is always resistance. And at the centerpiece of resistance is the artist. So for today, I would like to say we are going to talk about the artist in its many facets. The storyteller, the most fundamental and basic human experience is telling stories to each other. If you talk about the paintings in the caves, it's telling stories. So the painter, the storyteller, the craftsperson, the custodian of our collective memory, the sculptor. So in all facets. But let me begin with two women. The story of two women who I believe are very important to us, and they're doing some important things. These two women were involved in a project, in a joint project, that utilized the digital space for 100 days. One is a poet, and the other one is a visual artist. One is Ugandan Canadian, the other one is Kenyan American. And you may ask me, why do you take us out of the continent I say, no, I'm not taking you out of the continent. So I would like, for those who know these two women, upige vigelegele kidogo. One is called Julian Okot Bitek, and the other one is called Wangechi Mutu. So Julian is a poet, and Wangechi Wetu is Kenyan American. She's a fine artist. She experiments with identity, history, gender, and complications that arises from all this. So one was posting without exchanging any ideas. One was posting a poem, the other was posting an image. For 100 days, from April 6, 2014, in remembrance of the genocide that was carried out 20 years earlier in 1994 in Rwanda. But let me start with a quote from Julian, and I would like to read, and then I'll put these papers down. Julian says this. She was interviewed and was asked, what is the role of the artist? What must an artist do? She said, the role of the artist has long been debated between those for whom art exists for its own sake and others for whom art must be political. To comment on that quote, I have to collect all my sensibilities, not just my artistic self. I wrote 100 Days, and this is the anthology of her poems about Rwanda, as an African woman and a Canadian national who lives continents away from home. And so I was thinking about proximity. I want you to mark some of these words. Proximity, solidarity, and witnessing. I wrote as a scholar who has been thinking and writing about how a violent political history shapes us. That said, I come from a tradition of people who believe that the role of the poet, singer, is that of a critic and a historian. Now she is invoking her father's name, and when I mention her father's name, I'll say, in the tradition of the Mijikenda in the coast, Alumewo! So you know. Okay. So she's invoking her father. That I said, I come from a tradition of people who believe that the role of the poet singer is that of a critic and a historian. My father wrote in The Artist, the Ruler, and the Horn of My Love. This is Okot P. Bitek. Alume wo! That the poet is unafraid to say, write, sing what others will balk from, what others will be scared about. This takes courage and leadership from the poet, but the work of the artist to challenge people to think about what is going on. However, to do this effectively, the artist must think about aesthetics. It must be attractive. It must be memorable. It must be innovative. The craft creates the artist. Beauty, therefore, is not idle. Beauty cannot be beautiful just to be beautiful. It demands our attention, and so must contain a message or move us to thinking, talking, and perhaps to action. Art, beyond the artist, is created in the moment of interaction, and so beauty works behind the apparent aesthetics. So I'd like to stop there and now invoke the memories of those who came before us to struggle to bring justice to our land. That is why we have that appreciation in our preamble of the Constitution and say we celebrate those who struggle to bring justice to our nation. And where do we start? Those who struggled against the Portuguese, Muyaka bin Haji, the poet. those who struggled against, after the Portuguese, the Arab rule. Those who struggled, and Muyaka was coming from a family that struggled against the Portuguese and the Arabs. Once he wrote a poem, and I'm quoting this for the benefit of my brother, Professor Kimani Njogu. Some sellouts in Mombasa took a boat to visit the Sultan in Zanzibar. And you know, Mombasa people loved their freedom. They were freedom fighters. That's why we were called Mvita. People who loved war against oppressors. They went there. When they came back, they found he had already popularized a poem with the refrain, Viwi mwaviramba vyombo, vyema mmevikulaje. Meaning what? They were eating bad things until they were licking plates. So he was asking them, if you eat bad things until you lick plates, how would you eat if you were given good things? And this theme of wanting to eat has been with us for a long time, from the Portuguese time, from the Arab time. Then there came the British, and people resisted against the British. Mau Mau will not be Mau Mau without his cultural component. Mau Mau will not be Mau Mau without the artist who sang the Mau Mau songs, composed the Mau Mau songs, the Mau Mau poetry, the Mau Mau murals. This is something people didn't know. There were Mau Mau murals. At night, people will paint neighborhoods. In the morning, they'll find murals. If you didn't know that, start Googling and looking for Mau Mau murals. After the Mau Mau, of course, all the resistance that was undertaken by different communities had a cultural and artistic aspect. But after independence, one of the key things about artisan struggle was how to deconstruct sites of oppression. So I will quickly point out some of the few ones that may come readily to our mind. It included the churches near the University of Nairobi, and it included the park. That is why one of the artists who struggled wrote in one of his books, Going Down River Road. You know who I'm talking about? Yes, sir. He said, if you come towards the university, you'll be met by a cold wind that pushes you back to Eastlands. It is disturbing. That cold is disturbing. So, one of the first things people did was to try and decolonize the university. And there are two sides of resistance, two sides of artistic struggle for democratic change at that university. Actually, three. One was the history department, but the other was the literature department. And the Africans who came to the literature department said, what is this that you sing about English literature? In order to accommodate the Africans, they said, okay, why don't we negotiate and talk about literature in English? They said, no, that's not enough. We want African literature. We want Kiswahili literature. And there was a war in that literature department. Among those who led that war was Ngugi wa Thiong'o and the others who were teaching there with him. And that struggle is what gave us that as a site of resistance. And now they want to take it away. From there, the nearest from the literature department was a stone throw away at the Kenya cultural center, incorporating also the National Theatre. And if you went at that time, when we just got independent, they were all posters of Shakespeare and European authors and plays. And they wanted to take over the theater. Because they thought, wrongly, now it's our government. So one of the first places where there was pushback by the colonial state was the National Theatre. We won the war at the university. When we went a stone throw away, they refused and they resisted. And Ngugi and Michere Mugo and Ngugi Wamiri and others moved from the university opposite Norfolk and went to Kamerithu. But a lot of people have written about Ngugi and Kamerithu. What we have not talked about is Ngugi was shifting the site of struggle, but mentally he still went with the proscenium arch like this. They went and built a stage. And they tried to put curtains. And the backstage. But it was a site of resistance. Kamerithu is a site of resistance. And from there we started also writing and publishing our own plays. The trial of Dedan Kimathi is not based on the court documents. If you read the court document, you lose sight of the struggle. The trial of Dedan Kimathi as a play is an imaginary incarnation of a heroic figure explaining the struggle against colonial rule. Immediately after that, the Kenyan state under Jomo Kenyatta wanted to bring back the colonial state. And Abdul Latif Abdallah, who has been invoked by my brother here on stage, asked, he was hardly 22 years old, and he led the young people to write pamphlets and distribute them, challenging authoritarianism. And in his seminal historical pamphlet, he wrote, Kenya Twendapi. Where is Kenya going? And that message is as valid today as it was then. He was jailed for 7 years for wanting to overthrow the government. 7 years hard labor. During his incarceration, he started the history of political diary keeping and poetry writing and reinvented it after the Mau Mau poets who came before him. And lo and behold, the anthology Sauti ya Dhiki became the Jomo Kenyatta Prize winner. And when he was being invited to go and receive the award from Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, he suspected something stinking. And he ran away from this country and started the struggle outside this country. From that group of Ngugi, Michere, Abdul Latif, I'm moving forward to another group. A group that continued with the struggle at the University of Nairobi and Kenyatta University. And I would like to drop names. I know people don't like people who drop names, but please forgive me. I can't help it. Francis Imbuga. And if you look at the work of Francis Imbuga, two extremely important trends. One, using of laughter and comedy and satire. And the other one is alienation. Disappointment by the African people about Uhuru. So Betrayal in the City talks about both of these trajectories, about our nation. And they came at a time when they were closing the space again. I would like to invoke the name of Wahome Mutai, Aka Whispers, who also talked about laughter and satire and pointing out the king is naked and the people around the king are naked and the politicians are naked. And he was also jailed. I'd like to invoke the name of Ben Ateku. Ben Ateku, the one who wrote Tom Says He's Dead. And you don't ask me why is Tom, who is dead, saying that he's dead. And he is the one who wrote Street People. Won accolades. Both plays won the BBC award. But both plays were saying things, as a brother from Uganda said, laughingly. That's why maybe they were not arrested, apart from Whispers. In that group, I would like to invoke the name of an amazing actress, Stella Awinja Muka, who brought to life many of the characters that were powerful, challenging the idea of hegemony, gender oppression. And she died a senseless death. But to date, there is a hostel named after her at the University of Nairobi. I'd like now to blend a few names with also a few sites of resistance and institution. And I'm not invoking this because my sister is here and my other sister is here. I would like to invoke the name of Theatre Workshop Productions, TWP, located at the University of Nairobi, as a center of resistance, as an idea of pushback. From making plays like Dario Fo's Can't Pay, Won't Pay, The Accidental Death of an Anarchist, Kongi's Harvest, and others, at some point we were even forced now not to do published plays for a number of reasons. One, they said you must pay royalties. And in order to pay royalties, you have to pay them in hard currency. At a time, you could not get hard currency unless you went to the Central Bank of Kenya, which will be reluctant to give you that money. But also, they had a censorship framework at Nyayo House and the Nyati House. If you went to Nyayo House to get approval and you were sent to Nyati House, many people took off and took refuge in other countries. So people went back to storytelling, orature, to creating in performance, to poetry, to telling the stories about the hyena, so that the censor man, and it was many a time was a man, will not say, this is about hyenas. It's not about us. Yet, by re-examining the animals, they said, okay, I would like to invoke the Creative and Performing Arts Center of Kenyatta University. And there, before I got there, at Nairobi University, I invoked the name of Opio Muma, Gichuku Makini, Obio Biero Odhiambo, Mweni Lundi. Mshai Mongola had double identity, both University of Nairobi, TWP, and KU. But primarily KU. And at KU, I'd like to invoke the names of Wasambo Were, invoke the name of Mumbi Maina, invoke the name of Wagachanja. Of course, the good professor I've already mentioned him. But above all, David Mulwa, who reinvigorated the center, but also inspired the traveling theater, the opening of spaces by both University of Nairobi and Kenyatta University, traveling across the country. I like to invoke the school's drama festival as the place where incubation of artists was done. And people managed to do plays that were critical about the Kenyan system by doing South African plays, Mozambican plays, and imaginary worlds of kusadikika na kuaminika. So, I would like to invoke the name of John Nderitu. John Nderitu was the first Kenyan artist to caricature the president on the floor of performance. I remember once when we did these things at Education Theatre 2, some people ran away. When Jonu woke up and when he stood up and he said, "Aya, sasa mujidarishe niwape mazungumzo vizuri. Kenya haitakuwa kama Somalia." Some people ran away from the hall. They had not thought it was possible for somebody to caricature the president. And when he was doing Jaramogi, some people got angry because he was doing Jaramogi real, naked, and saying, "What is that young man who is a stranger in my house doing there?" I said, no, that is your son. "Oh, Oburu." No, that's Raila. "Oh, Raila." With frailties. And when he invoked the founding fathers, some people just dropped into their seats. Wengine wanafikiri tulitafuta uhuru walete shida, mwana titi ya mama yao. Kazi yao kuramba titi ya wazungu. So I would like to invoke John Nderitu because he was an amazing human being. He struggled to bring justice to this country through performance. He struggled with academia that was compromised. You know, we used to go to university classes, and among us were police officers. And we knew some of our lecturers were informants. But that did not stop Johnny from being Johnny. I like to evoke the memory of Drum Beats on Kirinyaga. The play, the musical that reflected about our history. And I know I can go on and on. Let me talk about 3 more people. Nicholas, just 3 more people and I'll stop. Kangare wa Jambi and Kahare Miano. Let me start with Kahare Miano. Kahare Miano is still, I think, a lecturer at the architecture department of University of Nairobi. He is a trained architect and designer. He's a fine artist. He is a sculptor. He's an intellectual and a thinker. And Kahare put places in Kenya through resistance murals, but also through creation of African aesthetics that calms your spirits and makes you feel at home. If you go to Jumuia Place in Limuru and you feel at home because of the ambience, that is his work. If you come to Jumuia Place here in Kilimani, that is his work. If you go to the National Assembly or the Senate and you see the aesthetics and you say, that is us, that is his work. If you go to Dodoma, Tanzanian parliament, and you feel Tanzanian, that is his work. He not only led by example, but inspired many of his students to become who they became. Some of them are trained architects, but they are performing artists now. Kangara Wajambi was not worried about doing murals in Gorokocho, in Kwaruben, and many other places where our people put struggles. I like to invoke the space of struggle in Eastlands, in Jericho, in Jerusalem, in Wololo, in Biaf, and mention Chilepe Arts. And Chilepe Arts blended religion, faith, dance, music, performance. And I tell you today, without any fear of contradiction, Sabasaba would not have been Sabasaba if the young people who are mobilized culturally in Eastlands did not turn up on Sabasaba, with or without a license, a band beating. And you know the connection between Chilepe Arts, the peacemaker, Dr. Babu Ayindo, the late brother, Bantu Mwaura, and our brothers who branched off from Chilepe Arts into Chemichemi ya Ukweli, and Theater for Development, and Theater for Engagement. But let me mention last two names of musicians. Eric Wainaina. Dek. You know Dek? Right? But let me mention RPP. Release political prisoners. When the mothers who are camping at All Saints, fasting and refusing to go until their sons and daughters who are political prisoners were released. In the evening, it was Dr. Mshai Mwangola's and Mweni Lundi's students at Nairobi Theatre Academy and our Njuguna Wakanyote who went to offer solidarity, to offer comfort, to offer performance. Dofan, the spoken word artist, and Mfasa, and the other young people who are here. I'd like to remind you, you are the custodians of a long history of honor and dignity of people who came before you and were committed to making our countries a free country, a just country, and that we are not going to be afraid. What can I finish with? Let me finish where we started. What is the role of the artist? And why is the artist needed even more now than before? But let me say three things. One, let us not forget. And I will finish with Kithaka Wamberia's simple performance. Let us not forget. Okay? Secondly, let us know that there is a history that has not been claimed. There are memories that have not been documented. And last but not least, let us still create. Let us still work. I don't know which one would you like me to live with. Mchezo wa karata or amba? Amba, the one I do, so that the young people know that we were once also spoken word artists. This one is a mixture of Abdulatif Abdallah's Bamba and Kithaka Wamberia's Amba. Naminambe naminiambe kama wambao, ni ufumbe uzubaishe mapumbe. ni upambe, ni ufumbe zaidi, wafumbue wajuao. Nataka kuamba na kwamba mimi nataka kutamba. Nataka kutamba kwa kuamba na kuamba ya kwamba kwenye shamba kuna mamba. Huyu mamba kule kwenye shamba yuamba ya kwamba yeye ni mamba, mwamba usiotaratamba wala kuyumbayumba, hivyo kwamba anawadhulumu wenye shamba. Naamba kwamba hao wenye shamba wakianza imba na kuvuta kamba ile vunjayo miamba, huyo mamba mwenye magamba ambaye yuamba na kujigamba ya kwamba yeye ni mamba mwamba atakoma kujigamba. Hapo wenye shamba wataingia shamba na kutamba na kuimba na kulumba. Yuwapi yule mamba ambaye alikuwa akijigamba ya kwamba yeye ni mamba mwamba usotaratamba wala kuyumbayumba, hivyo kwamba alikuwa anatudhulumu sisi wenye shamba. So that's amba. This one is called mchezo wa karata by Kidhaka Wamberia. Tuliketi sebuleni vikundi viwili, kimoja chetu kingine cha mashetani, tukicheza karata. Mashetani walitupa karata na sisi tukatupa karata, wakatupa karata na sisi tukatupa karata. Wakashika karata yenye uzito, wakaitupa karata yenye turufu, wakashinda mchezo huo. Tukangojea mchezo wa pili, tukaketi sebuleni vile vile, mashetani na binadamu, sisi twacheza nini? Karata. Wakatupa karata, tukatupa karata. Wakatupa karata, tukatupa karata. Wakatupa karata, tukatupa karata. Tukashika karata yenye uzito ambayo hakuna mtu anaweza kuipiku. Tukaitupa karata kwa kishindo. Walipoiona karata yetu wakababaika, wakaitana kando, wakazungumza, wakarudi, wakasema karata yenu haifai katika mchezo wetu. Hiyo karata lazima itolewe mchezoni. Tukalalamika, tukabisha, tukataradhia, tukaomba, wakakataa na karata yetu na uzito wake na turufu yake ikaondolewa kwenye mchezo wa karata. Tukaambiwa tafuteni karata ingine. Wakazichukua karata, wakazipiga wakazigawanya, wakashika karata, tukashika karata. Huu mchezo wa karata utaendelea hivi mpaka lini? Bado mwataka kucheza karata na mashetani?
Yeah, as always, shake, tafadhali. My order was very simple. No one leaves my stage. No one leaves the stage without I engage. I don't know, applause, gentlemen. Makofi tafadhali. Makofi si tu kwa maneno mufti yaliyotolewa hapa, but makofi pia kwa ulumbi wa lugha. Huyu bwana bila shaka amebobea. Mpigeni makofi tafadhali. I think I was listening to you very keenly, Bwana Abubakar Sheikh. One thing is, you have majorly highlighted and deeply given historical, struggle in poetry and art as a whole in pushing for change in this country. One thing that I would like to hear from you, maybe one key, lesson that the upcoming artists, the artists that we have around here, Kizazi Kipya, can pick one key example from the history you have just given. One artist that we can emulate from na vizazi vipya?
You know, that's a very difficult question because you had me invoke many names. And if I had time, I would have invoked even more. And you have some of them sitting in this room.
All right.
So there are three things that I would like to say to young artists.
All right.
One, never give up. Never give up. An artist's life can be difficult because you raise disturbing issues in society. You ask questions where no one wants to ask. Mm-hmm. So have courage. Secondly, remain true to yourself.
All right.
And then lastly, you can make a dignified life in the arts. Life of respect. Don't worry too much of quick success, but refine your art form and remain true to yourself and work hard. And the success will come. That I can guarantee.
All right. So maybe just moving forward, you know, our country now is at a very difficult situation, both politically and democratically. So maybe how do we strengthen art as a key contributor in the fight and the struggle to bring change in this country?
I think there are two things that we need to do more of. If you think of the contribution of cultural and artistic related industries,
all right,
and then you quantify what is the contribution to society, mm-hmm. you'll be amazed. So for example, think about fashion, think about culinary arts, think about publishing, content generation. I had Prof talk about content generation. Think about film, think about television, think about radio, think about books, think about magazines, think about architecture. When you hear about people building big places, mm-hmm. somebody like Miano Ndugietu managed to convince them that you need to give authentic African meaning and feeling to even dry buildings that are made of plaster. And he has managed to transform the Kenyan parliament, the Tanzanian parliament, and many other places across Africa. And let's not think about Kenya alone. Think about the world and how far we can reach billions of people with what can be done. And then secondly, I think the greatest challenge Kenya has today, one of the greatest challenges that Kenya has, is lack of imagination.
All right.
Think about our politicians. They really don't have any imagination.
You're not imagining?
They don't have imagination.
Oh.
They're speaking the same things. The same things that were promising people mm-hmm. 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The same, just packaging them in different formats. Uh-huh. But have they spoken to your soul? Have they convinced your mind? Have they embraced a future that you can believe in, mm-hmm. where everybody is free and everybody is just? Mm-hmm. We are seeking to build roads for cars and not for people. As we speak, Kwa Ruben, they were evicting people forcefully, illegally, because they want to pass a road there. Who are they?
Who are they?
We are the people.
All right.
Right? So lack of imagination, and we have plenty of that. In this room, plenty of imagination. And I think if we do our work right, you know, in Romania, they elected a stand-up comedian. People say stand-up comedian, but we say spoken artist. Right? Mm-hmm. Because he talked to the people and the people believed it. And they said, we are sick and tired of the lies of Mr. Politician, man. Yeah.
All right. I've been following you. I would say I started hearing about you when I was still in kindergarten. And you really have a rich experience. We all agree, and you've been there, you know. And mine is just to want to understand from you, because you have lived the life, you have a story to tell, and now you're also experiencing what the new emerging activists are doing in the space. So my question is, do we have a gap, from the historic, regions for social accountability in this country and what we're having now in terms of activism, human rights defending? Are we gaining the power, or are we lost?
No. We are doing what needs to be done. That's why we are here. And listen to Fanon.
Mm-hmm.
Fanon says, every generation has its calling, right? Every generation has its calling. But we can do more in terms of sharing experience and blending the old, the not so old, and the new, and the ones to come. And we need more of this, Professor, where we can share. I'm sure there are very many young people here. When I was invoking names,
Mm-hmm.
they may not know who these people are. But I hope that you'll go back and look at what we were discussing and use those names to Google, because I know you like to Google. But let us not become slaves of the 140 characters. We need deep thinking, analysis, but also sharing. And we take responsibility for not mentoring enough.
All right.
So we'll be doing a lot more.
Yes, because looking back, I remember when I started the journey of being an activist in Mombasa, I remember participating in a few very huge, demonstrations, but that's not happening anymore now. I don't know. Is it because the artists now do not embrace demonstrations in this country?
People are organizing differently.
All right.
You are following Twitter,
Uh-huh.
and you saw how many people are responding to what we are doing here.
All right.
So people are organizing differently, creatively, and let's not become captured by methodology or methods.
All right.
Let's try what is effective and what can bring change.
So just to add some value to that question, how do we strengthen intergenerational learning and mentorship, especially with the young upcoming artists now?
I am from Orecha Collective. There are two other members of Orecha Collective.
Please raise your hands. We want to know you, Bwana.
Mweni Lundi.
Opigeni makofi tafadhali. Thank you.
Dr. Msai Mwangola.
All right.
Amazing artists. Please, don't feel shy addressing them or talking to us. But, Prof, if we can have more sessions where we can engage each other and we can develop institutional frameworks where you can have a space with us and us with you, and we will inspire each other. It's not one way, it's both ways to traffic.
Abubakar, the legend. Are you available pro bono, or I have to create a budget?
You know, my brother.
Yes.
We don't ask to be paid.
All right.
We have never asked to be paid. Even when Prof asked me to come here, I did not ask to be paid.
Hallelujah.
But Prof said, there's something small, so I will do it pro bono. I give you guarantee.
All right.
A youth wants to engage, we'll do it pro bono.
A round of applause.
Yeah.
Now, as we wind out this session now, you have named legends in poetry, social accountability, the pushers, the names, Hey, and I'm asking myself, kizazi kipya kiko wapi kwa huyu kiongozi bwana? Now my question is, which among the artists that we have now, kizazi kipya, who are trending now, who among? Yes.
Mufasa and Dofan, because that is the future of young people. And I was using only those for illustration purposes. I can go on and on.
All right. And I hope you're still with us here so we can see more of this upcoming grassroots poet. I'll see you.
Yes.
Sebaki na sisi.
Thank you.
I know you'll add value to your list. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Tumpigie makofi kiongozi tafadhali. By the time he was coming on stage, I was a little bit worried if at all he would stand for long. But now, I have another story to tell about him. Pigieni makofi tafadhali. Now you know, this famous saying, don't judge a book by its cover. It's the same like me now. Don't judge me by looking at me. You'll be surprised. I'm the most flexible in the room. Nipigieni makofi tafadhali. If you doubt, tukutane hapo nje. Ladies and gentlemen, our hashtag is Activism Week. Kama kazi kama kawa, we are live on Twitter. Twitter kumekuwa moto. I'll be reading some of the tweets as we move on with this program today. Also on Facebook, tuendelea na conversation, Activism Week. And just reminding you that towards the end of this program, it's on Thursday, we're gonna have a very big launch of Jukumu reports that are looking and reviewing the work done by Wajibu Wetu partners across the country. This work is documented by Toweza Communications and the leadership, charismatic leadership, I should say, of Professor Kimani Njogu. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to understand what Forum CV is doing across the country, please stay with us till the third day. Be inspired, get the ignition you want, and move out a changed person. Ladies and gentlemen, just about now, as you see, the stage is now changing. We shall be shifting the stage. Yeah, this is an indication that we're about to start our first phase of dialogue. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to call upon on stage this amazing moderator for a discussion this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome on stage Professor Kimani Njogu. Mpigieni makofi tafadhali. Professor Kimani Njogu will be leading a conversation on the artist perspective, of course, after what has been presented by Abu Bakar here, contribution of Kenyan artists in democracy and change. Now we want to hear the perspectives of our upcoming artists here. What do they feel about the world conversation? So I welcome on stage Mweni Lundi. Tafadhali Mweni Lundi, mpigieni makofi tafadhali. Pigieni makofi tena. Ongezeni makofi. Tena na tena. Thank you. Bi Mweni Lundi, tafadhali chukua kipaza sauti. Alafu tukaribishie wale wasemaji ama wanenaji wako katika safu hii ya mazungumzo. Karibu sana. Kimani Njogu hatakuja hapo baadaye tukiendelea na ulumbi. Karibu sana. Take it away.
Asante sana, Nicholas. My name is Mweni Lundi, and for the next session, I'd like to ask the following artists to join me ili tuzungumze kidogo kabla watu waelekee upande wa lunch. So, KGZ Heavyweight, tafadhali karibia. Malenga 001, tafadhali karibia. Na Sambu, karibu sana. Karibuni. So we'll just be talking a little bit upon what Zain shared with us. And Zain alipoanza, alituanzishia mbali sana, 1498, and helped us to look at history in terms of what the struggle has been and what the artists have been doing in relation to the struggle. So I just wanted to find out very quickly from you, what struck you? What stands in your mind in relation to what you spoke about? What are the things that surprised you? What are the things you're saying, oh my goodness, I didn't know that? Yeah, Karibuni.
Thank you once more for having me. And round of applause again to Zainar Abubakar for that, and also Kimani Njogu as well. I'm super spirited to keep on championing for what our stand is for in the community. So I'm super challenged again in terms of knowledge, the depth of knowledge. I didn't know a lot about it and how it's really contextualized into that. So I'm super challenged. That's all I can say for now.
Let me take you a little step back. You didn't introduce yourself.
To the introduction of myself, I'm yes. KG's Heavyweight.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kutoka wapi?
Natoka Dandora.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Asante. Jina langu ni Malenga 001 kutoka kaunti ya Mombasa na mimi ni mshairi. Zain Abubakar alipokuwa yuongea amenisisimua sana pale chini. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu kwa muda mrefu mashairi yamekuwa yakipendwa sababu ya mapenzi, sababu ya kufanyika katika sherehe za harusi. but I've seen a very different perspective. Someone being jailed because of their poetry. That says it really had to be poetry that is of revolution. Si ushairi wa kawaida ambao tumeuzoea, ushairi wa kumsifia mwanamke akafurahi. Ni ushairi ambao ulikuwa unasema mambo ambayo watu hawasemi. Ndio mpaka ukapelekea mtu kupelekwa jela. Na imenipa changamoto mimi kama mimi. Ni ushairi wa aina gani nafanya? Na ushairi wangu miaka 10, 20 baadaye watu watapokuwa wanamzungumzia Malenga 001, watakuwa wanasema nini kuhusu ushairi wangu?
And so ukisema hivyo inamaanisha kwamba hii challenge ambayo Zain unasema amekupatia, do you feel or do you see yourself changing how you practice your poetry now?
Yes, definitely. Tayari mimi ni mwanaharakati katika ushairi wangu, lakini imenipa changamoto zaidi. Pengine nilikuwa naandika mashairi 2 ya wanaharakati, ni muda sasa nianze kuandika mashairi 10 ya wanaharakati.
And do you see yourself influencing other poets katika nini katika area yako?
Yes.
Ama ni wewe tu peke yako ambao unaona utafanya hiyo kazi?
No. Na MC Songora ni shahidi wa hili. Nyumbani Mombasa washairi wengi hufanya ushairi wa sherehe za harusi, kama nilivyokuambia, na mapenzi na siasa.
Yes.
Mimi siko hivyo. Niko utofauti kidogo. Nafanya mashairi ya kijamii, ya kuzungumzia masuala ya jamii. Kwa hivyo ni ndoto yangu mara ya pili nikija Nairobi nisije peke yangu kama ulivyosema.
Yes.
Na washairi wengine nao pia waone kwamba hii ndio njia inaweza kuleta ushawishi na ikaleta mabadiliko.
Asante. Over to you, Nasambu.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Nasambu. I am a singer, songwriter, and a musician. And through my songs, I am also a poet. So it has just been an incredible experience to hear Mr. Abubakar to share all of this vast history of the artists and writers and poets that have shaped the struggle and the resistance, and also the portraying of our commonalities through their art and through their works. So just to have that foundational background history is really inspiring, because for me, as an artist and growing up, I was always asking too many questions. I was always so curious, why this, why that? And I really wanted to sit down with my elders and ask them so many questions, but many times those questions went unanswered, you know, because I think in some of our elder generation there is some way that some of the history is not being passed down verbally and within communities. Some of the history, the actual on-the-ground history of people in the struggle within the universities, within the National Theatre, and so on and so forth. I feel like those stories sometimes do not get out, the on-the-ground story. You might hear it on the news or on the media or on a Jamhuri Day, and you know, things like that where people celebrate, you know, the big icons. But there are also so many people who have been on the ground, in the struggle, in the thick of things, and I'm just so appreciative to hear that narrative today.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that, Nasambu. So, niko na swali hapa kuhusu, that's something that you raised here. He talked about that a lot of the artists he knows who are practicing poetry in Mombasa are more dealing with the issue of love and entertaining at weddings and a few other events. And I'm curious to know, do we feel that this is a trend amongst young artists at the moment, that we are more looking at entertainment, issues of love, and are not really looking at, or that there's a gap when it comes to issues of social transformation? Is that the situation on the ground? I'm asking as not a young artist. I'm curious to hear what your take is. What's the status in terms of dealing with issues of social transformation? We're talking about activism today. So, how are young artists on the ground right now dealing in relation to activism? Are they engaged? or are we entertaining? Let's start from Alex.
For me, I'd say it's more of the young artists rather the younger generation. Me being part and parcel of it is more being excited with the trends around. So for me, it's different rather. I don't do trend music. I don't sing for the ladies, maybe to say. It's not that I don't have an affection sense in me. I just don't do, because where I'm from, rather, we are inspired differently. You hear gunshots in the streets. For example, there's a project that was powered by Forum CIV, so under the Sauti ya Mtaa. So we did an album launch on Saturday. But before the album launch on Friday, unfortunately I got to be arrested under unclear circumstances. Then I was took to the police station cell. So a police officer arrested me and he was just laughing. He was looking at me and laughing.
Alikuwa anacheka kwa nini?
Sijui, aliniambia wamenishika juu sina mask na nilikuwa nakula machungwa and orange. So I inquired for kujua, unaweza kulaje orange kama umevaa mask yani. Nikamwambia manze hii ni ufala. Nilimwambia Buda acha ufala, wewe unaweza kula. So tukienda pale akageuza. Akasema nilimwambia yeye ni fala. So hivyo ndiye aliandika.
Story machungwa na mask ikaisha.
Then on Saturday I got a phone call again from the county commissioner, the DO. Akaniuliza, we kijana, habari ya masiku. Kuna maneno naona inaendelea huku, mnaeka posta kwa ukuta. Unanikosea, hii ni maneno gani, mtakuwa watu wangapi? So for me, you can imagine, nililala kitu saa 8 usiku hivi. Nilikuwa nimeshtuka because my relationship with these guys, it has been different. Haijawahi kuwa hivyo, si ukutana like TikTok, tunaongea kwa ofisi. So for hii ilinionyesha ni kitu tofauti. So initially inamaanisha hata sikushikwa juu ya mask, yani.
Kulikuwa na story ingine.
Kulikuwa na story ingine tofauti sana. So but again it challenged me to just stick to my stand regardless, cause my freedom for artistic creativities is guaranteed in the National Constitution under Chapter 4, Bill of Rights, Part 2.
Kweli kabisa.
Freedom for creativity. Again, Chapter 4, Bill of Rights, I have freedom of movement. So, wezi nipimia, hewa yani uniulize naenda wapi, kwa nini sijavaa mask na nimevaa mask. As long as I know that again under the very same constitution, you should be presented to the court within 24 hours mandate as per the law. So I went there, I found again a 60-year-old mzee. Amekuwa hapo hivyo siku 3, you can imagine, anaambiwa sipotoa thao 3 yani.
Ndio hivyo.
Ajitetee ndio hivyo. So sijakuwa nikitrend na mimi nilifeel tu hiyo ndio direction.
Kwa hivyo ni challenge kubwa sana. There's what we believe in and what we want to do, but there's what the challenges are vizuizi in the part of the work that we need to be doing.
But
and
again,
it's not easy, as Zain said.
The society expectation again, the way it is, people view you as an artist. So you have to like dress well, be trending, have money. So how about if your values maybe or your principles on how you are inspired to this are not really aligned into that being famous? For me, it's different. I don't need to be famous to be heard. So for me, democracy and arts is every second like we are right now, every minute, every hour, not only 1 week, hashtag Twitter trends, then it's done. For me, no, it's different that way.
It's every day.
Every day.
Hiyo ndio kazi unafanya ukiamka ukienda kulala. Hiyo ndio kazi. Si event.
Si event.
Nasambu, I can see you smiling.
What
would you like to add?
I'd like to share that I think it depends on the type of artist, because there are artists that are purely for entertainment, there are artists for the trend, there are artists to create a pop culture, and then there's artists that are making the art as a lifestyle. It's a way of life. As our friend here was saying, it's something that you wake up, all day long. When you sleep, you're dreaming about art, and you're creating art as a product of the environment that you're in, and as a product of how you want to see the world in the future.
So maybe just to ask you in relation to that, where would you place yourself in that spectrum? Where you're saying there are artists who are there to entertain, some do it as a lifestyle, etc., etc. Where would you place yourself as an artist?
Personally, I see myself as an artist who is living the lifestyle of art, because I also do other things. I also I see that the way to live in harmony with ourselves and with our environment, with each other, is the paramount, the most important thing in the world that we live in today, is how to be in harmony with each other, how to even have a different opinion, and you don't have to beat each other up because you have a different opinion. You can respect each other and be able to also express art that may be questioning things, and you shouldn't have to fear, why are you questioning reality the way it is and how it could be?
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, that being the core of the business we're in, questioning, analyzing, helping people look at things differently.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
And also from a more of a spiritual perspective.
Because there's more to it than just what we're seeing. There's more behind it.
Yes.
Okay. A question for you, a very quick question. You talked about there are artists who are there to entertain. And he talked about art as a lifestyle. This is what I wake up to do every day. It's not just an event. And you talked about the need to move beyond that's actually the title for the gathering. Moving beyond, creating beyond entertainment. So my question is, are we saying that we need to separate this? You will talk of yourself as an artist whose work is their lifestyle. And then we want to separately talk about the artist whose work is to entertain. So if it is a lifestyle, does it mean then I am not entertaining? There is no entertainment. There is no joy. There is no laughter in the work. Are we separating these two things? And we will come to you. Malenga.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to separate. Huwa napenda kusema situngi mashairi ili nilipwe. Lakini kwa bahati nzuri nalipwa kwa sababu natunga mashairi. What do I mean? Like my brother said, the expectations from the society. As an artist, they expect you to dress well, to have a car, to trend. But that is the expectation. And my sister has also said it very well. What type of artist are you? I came from there. Mimi pia kuna wakati nilikuwa nikisimama mbele ya hadhira kama hii, nikigani ama nikikariri shairi, nataka nyote mcheke, nataka nyote mpige makofi. Lakini faida yake ni nini? Today I'm very comfortable standing in front here, speaking to you. Musipige makofi, musicheke. As long as you've understood what I've said, imesink na waenda nayo nyumbani. Na hiyo ni muhimu zaidi kwa jamii. Kwa sababu watu wote waliokuwa hapa ndani leo tumekuja kwa sababu tunajua hii nini. Lakini jamii huwa haielewi mabadiliko ni nini. Ni jukumu letu kama wasanii tuanze kufanya sanaa ya mabadiliko. Sanaa ambayo si lazima upigiwe makofi. Sanaa ambayo si lazima watu wacheke. Sanaa ambayo si lazima watu wakujue. Lakini kama nitakuja hapa niongee na nibadilishe watu wawili katika hii hadhira, hiyo ni bora zaidi kuliko kupigiwa makofi.
Kwa muktadha tofauti kwangu, on a different perspective rather, think I'm right. So I grew up with my dad.
So it means you're right.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll start with a short story. My dad was an armament technician at the Kenya Air Force, but after the 1982 COP, unfortunately, alikuwa amefungwa jail miaka 7. So I got introduced to certain things that are before the right age that I'm supposed to. He used to tell me one-on-one. So I used to listen to different music like the Francos and the TPOK jazz. whereby he sang about Mobutu Sese Seko, the founding president of the Republic of Koivokwa, Congo. Again, I listened to Mbiliam Bell, Shalamwana, Madelo, but I do hip-hop. I grew up listening to reggae. So these people are not so flashy. Na si ati hawakuwa na pesa pengine, si ati hawakuwa na familia. So nikiangalia, if I take it into close relation right now with the current generation, they are being driven more with the materialistic stuff. And for me, as I do say, or as I do perceive my life, real success is measured in values and principles always. For me, it's not based on material. That's why mostly I'm not even like shaken, bothered or compromised to be like what the society will say. Okay. No, so I'd rather do something that will be relevant in 20, 30 years time to come. If it is not supposed to be like trendy or be appreciated right now, it doesn't mean that I'm less worth compared to Malenga, or that I'm less worth compared to my sister over here. So for me, I view all these things differently, and I think, yeah, it's hard. At times it's super frustrating. At times you are super inspired. At times if I'm invited on such platforms, listen to Professor or Abu Bakar or you on stage having us right now, I take that objectively into practicality and see what I can get out of it. So maybe that direction for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So something definitely to think about.
Yeah.
One last question, because I know we are running out of time. I can see Prof nodding and fidgeting in his chair. So one last question. Zain Abubakar said that one of the biggest problems we have in terms of our situation in the country is the lack of imagination of our politicians. They're still telling us the same thing they were telling us many decades ago, simply trying to repackage it. They do not see and cannot imagine how a different future can be for us as a nation. So I have a question for you as artists and for those in the auditorium as well. Is that the same ailment that we are suffering as artists? Do we lack imagination? Are we repackaging the same things we've been doing over and over again, nothing new to offer to our people, our citizens? Yeah. Do we see ourselves operating differently? Do we see ourselves in a different place as a country in the future? Do we lack imagination as artists? Let's start with you, Nasambu, our last question.
Oh dear, that's a tough one. But I'd like to say that as an artist, I really think that there is a way that many people in the artistic industry end up compromising themselves or their values for the sake of money, for the sake of fame, for the sake of power. And when people get into that, it becomes a slippery slope, you know, because you can end up in a place where you're saying, oh, is this really me? You know, or you're working for some agenda that is so foul, but it's the money that's keeping you there and keeping you to push that agenda forward. And so I think that even it's something that is in politics, it's anywhere, you know. For reals, it's something that I think is a very big concern in today's world is, what is real? Who is real? Are we just products of cultural imperialism from the West, which is trending all over the place? Every media is trying to mimic what is being produced out there in America or Europe or wherever. And so that's my major concern that I would point out.
So same old folks, new dramas, same old thoughts, different dilemmas. So that means that our politicians, again, in reference to the National Constitution, Chapter 6, on leadership and integrity, then again, Chapter 7, on representation of the people, so on legislation of political parties, electoral disputes, electoral process, and again, in relation to Chapter 4, Bill of Rights and Freedom of Creativity, that means in next year, we are supposed to be having elections in this country. So if I'm really compromised for my stand, as it has been happening for me, that means my value is not complex or authentic as it should be. But if rather I decide to stick to like who I am, of the societal pressures and expectations, even if I'm from Dandora, we don't talk English. I don't even know where it's coming from right now, but it's okay. We just talk Sheng. And Manze, and youth are on some super illicit substance they are charged. So you can't again judge them for how they should react. They're just human beings. But again, you are not also allowed to view, perceive, or consider yourself genius like in front of your own eyes again. We do have our parents who we rely on. We do have our elderlies who have been into these spaces before us, like you are right now, sorry. So that way, for me, that way. So for the politics and for us artists and the community again, I feel like there's a disconnect, but profoundly as time goes by, we learn from each other. So that way.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Malenga, tumafungie kikao.
Naam. Waswahili wasema simba kumla mtu ni habari ya kutisha, lakini mtu kumla simba ni habari ya kusisimua. Ni wakati wasanii tufanye sanaa ya kusisimua. Na njia mojawapo ya kufanya sanaa ya kusisimua ama kutoka katika jela za akili zetu na kupanua mawazo ni kusoma zaidi. Mzee wangu Zain Abubakar alipokuwa hapa juu akilikariri shairi la Profesa Abdul Latif Abdallah limenisisimua, na sijawahi pengine kuataka kuandika ama sijawahi kufikiria kuandika kitu kama hicho, pengine kwa sababu sijamsoma Abdul Latif Abdallah zaidi. Kwa hivyo ni changamoto kwetu sisi wasanii hapa ndani. Najua kwamba tuko katika karne mpya, sisi ni wasanii wa kizazi kipya, lakini pia na wasanii wa zamani tukiwasoma na kuweza kuelewa mawazo yao, tutaweka katika mawazo yetu na itakuwa bora zaidi. Kwa hivyo our imagination will broaden.
Asante sana. So just to end with a reminder from something that Zen said, next year kuna elections. Next year kuna elections. Here we are talking about activism. Here we are talking about creating beyond entertainment. And Zain reminded us as well that it is at the time when we are most oppressed that then we get more creative. So I have a challenge for all the artists here. How much more do we need to be oppressed to get more creative in dealing with our situation in this country? Tunataka kutuma application tuendelee ku oppressiwa zaidi ndio to get a bit more creative, ama tunahitaji nini zaidi? Yeah? Asanteni sana. Shukran.
Shukran.
So kumalizia, I have a song DJ pengine anaweza cheza, inagusia tu hiyo mambo kidogo nimeongelea, ndashukuru sana.
All right, a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Pigeni makofi tafadhali. What an amazing conversation. Msanii KG's ako na song. Amejipresent, anataka kupeana song, apungisha nguu kidogo. Tusikie mistari ya KG's. DJ.
Yeah. Skiza, twende. Agriculture, communication, entrepreneurship, investments, horticulture, exportation, leadership, development, poor planning, no facilities, shut down, lockdown, no activities. You wanna see my creativity? Chant down Babylon primitivity. For the people, by the people, and with the people. Democracy, equality, justice, practice, integrity, people, twende, possibilities, power, people, possibilities, potential, people, hizo mikono, potential, possibilities, power, people, possibilities, potential. Skiza, mitazi na sauti, isipokuwa risasi, wezi wa suti, kulipiza kisasi, ala, uchungu ya uzazi, have mercy, hujumi, huzuni, uchumi, duni, si utani, samahani, vijijini, mitaani, masista, mamista, society, anxiety, methali, mafumbo, tafsiri, mashairi na kariri kwa akili, jamani, jangwani. Hey, na rap culture kishua, si mabling kuhang vitu chini ya pua, si mabling kuhang vitu chini ya pua, hatua baada hatua, chini ya jua kuna mpya, si unajua, people, power, potential, hizo mikono kauna nisikiza, people, twende, power, potential, possibilities, power, people, possibilities, potential, people, power, potential, possibilities, power, people, possibilities, potential, people, twende, power, potential, possibilities, power, people, possibilities, potential, people, power, possibilities, possibilities, twende, power, people, possibilities, potential. Alright. Si kwa traffic, daily ni congestion. Si wanafiki wanataka kudivide nation. Si mashabiki wako radhi kila occasion. Umesoma ukahitimu, zero job the occupation. Crazy, kiwa si better than prevention. Rumors za war, kuna blood, kuna tension. We want peace and education. Transport is better health accommodation. Thank you ladies and gentlemen.
KGs, round of applause. KGs. Kwa ufupi tu, kuna wale watu wanasikiza muziki tu midundo peke yake lakini maneno hawayasikizi. What message are you passing in that piece?
Passing the message to the youths that we do need transparent, accountable leaders in this country. And also we as youths, we need to understand our position in the true nation building process. So kila mtu manze, kitu yenye unafanya, you just need to be true because change is not overnight. Change is a process gradually. So let's embrace each other differently, regardless of our social, political, and economic status, and our country will be where it should be. Thank you.
Last but not least, I see you're a master of the Constitution. What have you done? How vipi pako umekuwa umejua Constitution kiasi hicho? Na kuna wasanii wengi hapa hawajui hata article 1.
Constitution unafaa ujue, Constitution it's just part and parcel of the true nation building process in the active citizen participatory, kama naweza sema. So kwa mfano unahitaji tu kujua, ni ngumu, si love novel pengine ati itakubamba. Kuna stylistic devices, humor, poetry, imagery, assonance, consonance, vituka hizo, but it's a flat written thing. So unaweza kusoma tu hata kama ni chapter moja kila siku, pengine itakusaidia tu. Hivyo ndio naweza sema.
The best chapter of all the 18 chapters ni gani? Close to your heart.
Close to my heart is chapter 1. Ni mbili. Chapter 1, sovereignty of the people and supremacy of the Constitution. Kuna chapter 2 pia, the Republic. Chapter 3, citizenship. Alafu kuna chapter 6, leadership and integrity. Alafu jujuzi ama mblena walinishika, kuna chapter 14, national security. Command of the National Police. Service hapo hivyo kitu kama hiyo.
I don't know, applause, gentlemen. It's a walking Constitution. Yes, keep on clapping. Keep on clapping. All right. It's a powerhouse. KGs, God bless you, my brother. God bless you. Asante gentlemen. Our hashtag remains Activism Week. Tuko paka asubuhi lakini hatukeshi. Courtesy of Toweza Communications, Forum Siva under the Wajibu Wetu program. Ladies and gentlemen, you're almost coming to an end of this amazing program. Na mimi nimeanza kuchangamka sasa lakini naona time inaenda. Ladies and gentlemen, Now, we have yet an opportunity for another creative discussion. And before we come to that discussion, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on stage again. Where is Willie Oeba? Mpigeni makofi tafadhali. Willie Oeba! Where is Willie Oeba? Mpigeni makofi na Willie Oeba. I want one piece. One great piece before we bring back on stage another conversation. Najua ni activism. So we're talking about activism week. We have to combine kuongea na kufanya. Ama sivyo? Lazima tufanye ulumbi kidogo, turudi katika mazungumzo, tufanye ulumbi katika mazungumzo. Ndio wale wasanii ambao wapendi mazungumzo pia wapate kukaa wakisubiri ulumbi. Kwa hivyo ndugu mpenzi, Willie Oeba anakuja na piece kali sana, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for Willie Oeba. And then just about now, there's another very important session, very short session here that is coming for you. We are just day one. We are just day one, ladies and gentlemen. It is still day one of the activism week. Huko mbele kutakuwa ni moto fire. Willie Oeba, take it away.
Shout out to KGs. Give it up for KGs. Give it up for him. Yeah, that is a very powerful song. Sindio? Thank you. Dear God, at times when you bless, hadi nasikia kusema God bless you. Over time ume succeed, could make happy, I wanna say I'm proud of you. Kuna vitu most kwa hii life, that must have been you. Dear God, leaders who come from you, but hawa wetu nani aliwachagua? I'm certain not you. Dear God, mbona in every leafy suburb life is good, but across the fence ni Islam watoi wanalala bila food. Dear God, Solomon had all he needed. Angekuwa in my position better, ange ask for food before wisdom. To be a king, one doesn't need a queen but a kingdom. Na ikifika hiyo time, naomba wife ametulia juu nafanya sanaa, lakini ironically sipendi maneno. Dear God, ningesema in terms of chorus, but lately niko na verse. The truth is, we don't know where the problem is, but the problem is we don't know what the truth is. So kabla death haijanok na struggles za life kunieka koto, nitabidi tupambane. This is where the truth lies, round this tusidanganyane. Ignorance ni kama kutumia soprano kwa address mateko issue based. Chuo siku at my best, mode wangu hakuwa modest. Memory so clear, kinita ngombe sahi natumia sana kujilisha, at least siko zero grace. Drama ya life ni ati saa zingine voice ya active fanana subtitle. Truth ni utaland in trouble, si depending na did umefanya sana kama huna title. Vitu peti ndo zina trend, tumesahau what it feels like kuaddress vitu vital. Immorality ina rule kwa nchi, viongozi walikuwa sworn in kutumia Bible. Naishi kwa nchi na nisaidia kupostpone my dreams. Now the only country I pledge allegiance to ni procrastination. To pretense iko so open, crocodile tears inahitaji intervention ya kitungu. Vitu kii kwa life zishapoteza meaning, pombe inatumika kutoa lock, jumulishapoteza kifungu. We will make it in our motherland. Na reminders nafikiria lazima abroad ni kama neno success, ina interpretation ya Kiswahili from Kizungu. Pesa ni shetani, but ni chache mali natoka, wengi wanaipata kiumungu mungu. Juu pesa ya kisima waliiba, and that's the damn truth. Sudden death is viewed kama spoiled thoughts, that's the sad truth. Hakuna food, shelter, mata clothing, that's the naked truth. Mayouth wana fare kwenda job interview, politician wekele na kusumbua na mafuta ya ndege. Now that's the plain truth. Life ain't easy, that's the hard truth. It's not about sagging drugs, do not create my wasted youth. Inchi mashefa wezi afford ile food wana cook. Dom optician wanalipwa wezi atapiga look. Kill sin to see God, atamtoi tithe aje ticket ya heaven na inenuli maimuk. Itakuwaje kreza maskini ni intellectual, lakini kreza tajiri kwa masikio justice ni kelele. Itakuwaje mna believe in me na nikicheza kimimi mnashiko na kiwewe. Itakuwaje mna ninyima opportunity ya kupata kazi, lakini kwa club mnataka nipewe. na effect ya nguvu ya thao inafika mali nduru ya mnyonge iwezi fika. Ballot box na DSTV zinafika mali disha iwezi fika. Watoto nalala jaju mlikunywa na pesa ya kula na vizuri mnajua pombe iwezi lika. Wanasiasa pia wanadanganya, si movie peke yake. Ukisaidia rafiki yako pesa yako, unapoteza rafiki yako na pesa yako. Wonder why uko heartbroken na ile hotel nyunendo ukiwa peke yako, ukiwa na manzi yako wewe huwezi jipeleka. Unatafuta mapenzi wapi na wewe mwenyewe umeshindwa kujipenda. Jesus alibetraywa na kiss, nyinyi mko hapa mnajichocha bujumulipewa hug. Wajinga nyinyi. So dear Mr. President, wewe uliomba kura na ukapata. Sisi tulipata rais lakini hatuna uhuru, na tuna feel useless unless tunapiga kura ama tunaenda kulipa ushuru. Kwa nchi mwananchi analipa standing charges kwa kila kitu ndio MP apate sitting allowance. Kwa nchi hakuna kazi, mayouth kila mahali inabidi wamejiandika kama Flosin Mauano. Dear Mr. President, do you know the leaders of tomorrow are dying today? Ni guts tu hakuna, but everyone has something to say. Manifesto hope hazina, our mothers have resorted to pray. Dear Mr. President, na watoto wa CBC ndani atawafunza hiyo tumechoka. Even Rihanna doesn't want you to stay. So the sitting president is now sleeping. He's sipping. So what leader mnaangalia better leader than you? Na profile yenyu ya WhatsApp ni more useful than the current DP design.
Willy Oeba, a round of applause, yes. Gentlemen. Umesema sisi ni wajinga
sana.
Buda boss. Tunaheshimiana ama tumefika hapo?
Mungu anasaidia.
Sisi ni wajinga. Nataka tuelewane kitu kwanza.
Yes.
Hii sisi ni wajinga. Umetuambia sisi ama pia uko ndani?
Pia mimi niko.
Bahati yako. Kama uko ndani, kama uko ndani ni sawa. Sisi ni wajinga.
Sisi sote.
Unaomsema unapenda kutumiwa sana kaka. Malengo yake, dhamira, maudhui ni nini haswa?
Malengo yake ni sasa tunaenda run up to the election next year. Tuna talk issues kila time, but ukifika pale kwa ballot narudi huyu ni mtu wetu. Tuache hiyo. Vile Kijiza amesema tuangalie issues. Tusikue wajinga.
Bado hujanijibu.
Unataka jibu gani?
What was the intention of putting that line in wajinga?
Wajinga. Okay. So that piece yenye nimeperform inaitwa Wajinga Nyinyi Part 4. Now King Kaka came up with Wajinga Nyinyi Part 1. Yeah? So the essence ya kuweka Wajinga Nyinyi hapo, it shows how the electorates ni sisi wote, si ndio? We are very vulnerable when it comes to now electing our leaders. Yeah? We keep talking, but ukifika pale kwa ballot, now you choose to your specifications zenye zinakufavor. You get? So that was a very strong word, but intention yake iko hivyo. Like Mr. Jackson alisema, it's linear. Haimanishi wewe ni mjinga.
Okay.
Vile imekam. Lakini bado
okay.
Dispute your fact.
No problem. Lakini mimi nikisikia mstari huwa nasikia pain.
Okay.
Kwenye maini, kwenye mbavu.
Okay.
Yani na feel niko irritated, yani it's like I'm not doing enough. It's like you're telling me I should wake up, go fight.
Go fight. Last time ulikuwa unauliza watu, are you agitated enough? Uko na vile mafuta ilikuwa imeongezeka. Hiyo moto bado iko.
Wakenya ni wajinga kweli, washasahau. Tena wanalipa sasa hivi wanaweka full tank.
Wanaweka full tank. Mungu anasaidia.
So wanajua wakiongeza bado tutalipa. Wanajua tukiongeza bado Sheikh Zain atapiga kelele siku 2 siku 3 ataingisha gari yake tena yake reverse sasa imeweka full tank.
Inaitwa reverse psychology. Wanajua watapeleka 137 lakini target yao ni
Kenyans will make noise for 2 days and then
target yao ni kupeleka 128. So for example, so wanapeleka 127 137 mnabonga wanarudisha 128.
Wajinga nyinyi sisi. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Willy Oeba. Mpigieni makofi tafadhali. Just about now, as we're in TVCM week, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring yet another super great artist. Ametajwa hapa na Bwana Buzain. Ni miongoni wale ambao impressed. Kwa hivyo sisi hatuna budi. Pia sisi tuko impressed. Ama sivyo? Ladies and gentlemen, now we want to bring on stage is another fire. There's another fire ignition we have in Kenya. He says that as it is. Azunguki na maneno, huwa anaongea kama ilivyo. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Put your hands together. Put your hands together for Mofasa. All right, keep on clapping. Keep on clapping. Keep on clapping. All right. All right. Mofasa and the band. I was told this band is called The Journey. Mofasa and The Journey on stage. These are not my words. And maybe they'll tell us what The Journey means. Ni safari ya kwenda Mombasa ama Kirinyaga. Mofasa, the band. Ladies and gentlemen, just remind us, we are on conversation, #Activism Week. Activism Week. Just after this band, we'll have an engagement here led by one and only Professor Kimani Wanjogu, Toweza Communications. Ladies and gentlemen, just remind you, we are live with Toweza Communications Facebook page. We are live at Toweza Communications Facebook page. Just after this performance, we will bring on stage Professor Kimani Wanjogu for an engagement with the artists. All right. Inakuanga hivyo ikiwa unapisha msanii wa kuongea na microphone, unaleta band juu ya stage. Lazima watu wajieke sawa. Mofasa, take it away, brother. The journey has started.
When I was 14 years old, I used to think of preachers as people who had a solution to every national problem. So when I was 14 years old, I told my mother I wanted to be a preacher. My mother said, so if you can't save money, how will you save people? I make a living out of a poem. I make bread come off a paragraph. I must be something or part of something numeral. People like us are always numbered that way. We make good statistics for businesses, for governments, for organizations. It's a numbers game. The youth are not playing, they are paying for the game. My understanding is people who stand for the youth stand on the youth, but the youth have no stand. It's a country for haves and have-nots. People who have the notes have the note to take from the youth, then pay the youth to lie they have what they don't have. If Kirinyaga is rising, why are young people paid to tweet about it? Every morning the sun rises and no one asks us to tweet about it because we can all see it. see? Nothing is like it used to be. Radio lost the rhythm, and we don't go out to get air and play. In fact, the rap game done changed, not just the beats, they lack the beat where they've got something to say. K-Shaka would make us come alive, but now we're just living a beat. Today, Amazon is burning, Mao is falling, the rivers are leaving, the weather is faulting, and contrary to what we were told, the future is not in our hands. What we have is a phone with features. While we were still on Instagram, they were stealing our geography features. No playgrounds, just buildings. So if babies can now be babies, then don't blame them for cussing, for hanging onto a phone instead of hanging onto a swing. All the professionals we have, yet the only science we know is to dissolve after every 5 years. But when will we become a solution? Ask me, which is the best method of family planning? I say improving the quality of life for everyone. Quality education, better education, better healthcare, even infrastructure, increased opportunities. That is how you raise a nation where everyone has so much to do. But if we keep building roads without sidewalks, then how does a country make steps if it literally doesn't care about where the people step? We claim Nairobi as the city under the sun, but in broad daylight, trees have been cut down with ease. Now as we walk, there are no trees to cover us from the heat of leaders who don't care about the economic situation of the people they're building an expressway for. In a country where 70% of Kenyans walk or use a matatu to work, the expressway is just a way for their bosses to get to work earlier. I say the expressway is just another way to express that every time we ignore the needs of the majority to solve the needs of the minority, we make 1 step forward and 3 steps back because more personal cars on the road is just another way to increase carbon footprint. I say if we keep feeding inequality, then we're not raising a country. We're not raising a nation. We're raising extremes. That's a red flag. No green, no black, no white. I say just because they cover the mouth, it doesn't mean the masks are supposed to silence us. This COVID situation is unreal, but people's struggles, police brutality is real. I have realized every time the country is burning, people in slums get 3rd-degree burns. They walk around with scars, and scars are not like plastics. They can't be burned. They are free to land on any part of your body. But what kind of freedom does a flying toilet bring? When will those with hectares of land learn to stand for those who can't even land a house with a latrine? I say 2 legs have not been enough to pray for this country. Maybe we all need 4 knees. I say for change to happen, we all need to have one voice. And for us to have one voice, our leaders have to act like everyone. Everyone matters. want to write poems that will plant thoughts about planting trees, then call those poems poetries. I want to fly, but every time there's a protest, police shoot in the air and people die. So I assume those people were flying. I wasn't alive to see J.M. Karaoke's shadow, but ever since I read about him, his zeal for democracy and unity shadows me. I've got my own shadow. Each time I look at it, I ask, am I tall enough? Have I done enough? Do I make you think? Do I want to be the first thing on your mind? Or do I want to be the back of your head, comfortably casting shadows? Shadows that will comfortably host ninjas. Where is your sword? My word is my sword. I speak reality that casts through your lives and will raise your kids. I give you reasons to raise your doubts. Let's go, Christian. Give it up for Christian. Give it up for Maluka on the bass. Tony on the keys. Yeah. Break it down. Take it down. Yeah. Let's go. Give up an ensemble. Thank you for having us.
The journey. All right. The journey. All right, round of applause, makofi tafadhali. The journey and Mufasa. Say fire. Say fire. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no additional word. I would love to engage Mufasa, but I want to leave it to the professor. One and only Professor Njogu. Makofi wake tafadhali. Piga makofi tafadhali. Keep on clapping. Keep on clapping. Professor Njogu, the man behind Towesa Communications. As I told you, the end of this program is going to be fire. We're going to launch a report, Jukumu report. Professor Njogu, karibu sana. Njogu wa Kimani, Kimani wa Njogu. Karibu kiongozi, take it away.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'll have a very simple conversation with Mufasa, and I would also want to have a simple conversation also with Oeba. Is Oeba around? If Oeba can also come so that we have a very simple conversation, because these poets really absolutely inspire me. They remind me of my younger self, in a sense. And I just want to say one word before engaging them. You see, art is driven by curiosity. Art is driven by curiosity about the world. It's about asking questions about the world. Science is driven by curiosity about the world. But the curiosity of the creative precedes the curiosity of the scientist. And I believe strongly that these poets are encouraging curiosity across our nation. So I want to start with you, my brothers. Labda tuanze na wewe Oeba, kwa sababu yani mimi nimekusikiza, nimekufuata sana kwenye social media. I mean, tuanze hapo. How did you start to really create the spoken word? So you can tell us how you started, and also you can also tell us a little bit of how you do it. And I'll pose the same question to you so that I can see why there isn't a distinction. How did you start? Tulianzia wapi, boss?
So poetry or activism? Poetry.
No, let's start with poetry.
Great. So while I was in primary school, class 4, I started poetry for music festivals. The one who is the persona. Yeah, so I competing for music festivals. We had a very good teacher. She goes by the name Madam Latoya. She's the one who mentored me into poetry, solo pieces, on composition pieces. Initially, it was for competition at the music festivals. That is when I started. So there's one instance whereby I was going to perform to an audience at the regionals level. I was also I was always the second horse, yeah, and I was standing in for someone else who was sick at that point. So when I went to perform that day, he got well, but fortunately we performed, the both of us. But I came in first, and then he was fourth. So when we went back to school, the teacher said, "What did the judge saw in you that he didn't see in the other person?" So he went to the provincial level as Willie Oeba. So now I became curious. I wanted to see what the judge saw that the teacher didn't see. Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. And I'll come back to you on, you see, because when we do activism, we are blending art and action. So I'll come back to you on how you got into the second level of activism. Mufasa, it's nice to see you.
For me, my mother used to be, you go to church on a Sunday, she used to go there, KTDS, diary, those diaries you find in your mom's room or in your parents' room. Nikachukua book moja nikaanza kuandika. Sasa every time kuko na prayers, nikaanza kuandika hizo words. Sijui the God of who and who nini naziandika hapo. So when I went to school, the first time they asked me to pray, I used all the lines I knew, like, hey. So immediately nikakole and say, like, mpaka headmaster ikifika, like, if there's a festival in school or something, wanauliza Kibeta kwa wapi aombe. So that's serious. And then slowly that transitioned, whatever I was writing, transitioned into poetry later on.
No, it's very interesting because I have written about Bob Marley and his influence, you know, his music, really. And I've also actually talked about from depoliticization to repoliticization. How, for example, you know, religion depoliticizes people, and how artists actually turn the depoliticization into repoliticization. Kwa hivyo nimeangalia sana hiyo, not just in terms of liberation movements across Africa, but also within within Jamaica, you know, and to really think about. Kwa hivyo hiyo, that's a very interesting influence. But Willie, so you got this, and you got, you know, the school system, but of course within the drama festivals na kadhalika, huwa tunafundishwa, hatufundishwa activism. Tunaambiwa siasa labda ni mbaya sana. How did you get into activism?
So I was doing poetry. I was doing poems on social justice once a while, yeah?
Ulikuwa ni sehemu za Eastlands?
No. Proud Nax Vegan. I am from Nakuru. Yeah, they are the capital city.
Najua. Ni kwetu huko baba.
Ah, nice. So I was doing poetry about love, good things, good life, soft life. But on the 21st of January 2017, I was almost killed, yeah, because of mistaken identity. So I had baby locks, and they were looking for someone, and I looked like the person whom they were looking for. So I was nearly shot. The mob ndo ilinisave because ilikuwa tao. So wase wakuza viatu, kuna mse fulani alikuja wakuza viatu at a place inaitwa Family Health Options Kenya. Akashindwa ni nini mbaya. So I got agitated, nikagonga the gun, nikaanguka chini. So the guys came, polisi wakatoroka. I had Boniface Mwangi's number, so I sent him the clip because someone ali-record. So your story, I post you wapi. It was very traumatizing. You know, when they say, when a gun is put on your head, if they don't kill you at that moment, then you live as a man who has nothing to lose. So we had peace at that time, but I realized hakuna justice, and this is how like youths die daily on a normal. And I was all about the good life, design, you what. So I started doing poems on social justice, and it culminated mbaka kwa Dear Mr. President, the line where I say, do you know the leaders of tomorrow are dying today? It is very intentional. So that year I did an album, it's called Ism, and it has Truth Is series. So Truth Is 1, Truth Is 2, Truth Is 3 and 4. So when I released Truth Is 3, then King Kaka did Wajinga Nyinyi. So he called me and asked me to do Wajinga Nyinyi Part 4. So that was Truth Is 4. And now I got into activism.
So essentially, this, ni kama vile nani KGZ heavyweight kwamba katika ile neighborhood yake, it's always such a challenge because you can die anytime.
True.
You know, it's Dandora, and of course with the ukoo fulani Maumau na hao wengine wote ambao wanaishi those zones, mnajua kwamba, you know, yani the following day ukiona unashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu, sio? So you decided to be part of the solution,
yeah,
in terms of challenging those systemic problems.
True.
To be part of the solution, kwa sababu you know that hii life ni very short and you have nothing to lose.
Life siyo toja.
Kabisa.
Life ni short.
And short sana.
Yeah.
So you know, so in his case it was almost like a personal. In your case it was personal to a certain degree. Lakini I would like to see, because you see, those who are the formative years, the earlier years, lakini baadaye sasa ukaanza sasa kuuliza maswali mengi sana, mambo ya, you know, iPhone without features or with features, you know, na expressway na nini, na kwamba kushughulikia watu ambao ni, you know, wana dinga zao na, you know, other than the ordinary citizen. How did you get into this? How did you get, and you know that you could do love and you could do, other softer things. How did you get
Soft
into
life.
this? Yeah,
Soft life.
Yeah.
I can't point out to a specific time when I started being an activist or I started writing in a specific way. I think for me, the first time I just write about human experience. And innately, this is what is happening around us. All these things are happening. Police brutality, love is happening in the midst of police brutality and everything else. So I write about human experience. And I remember the first time I got the tag of an activist or something like that was I was doing a piece about, it was during 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And somebody had my piece and they invited me to perform. But even so, I've never thought about it in, not coming in a box.
So you just want to tell a story about
I want to write about human experience. Yeah. I'm passionate about human dignity for everyone. I love you are gene activism. What do you call it?
Activism.
Not even activism. The name itself. Inaanza kupewa jina mbaya. Like they make it look like, and I also wonder if someone cares about you, how can that be a bad name? Like if someone cares about the lives of others, nanini, somebody's taking a beating for you, nanini, and if you call them activists, like yo. But basically for me, I think I always write about human experience. I'm passionate about human dignity for everyone. I'm passionate about justice for everyone, as it would pertain to me as well. And I remember the first time I wrote a piece about women, I was writing about my sister. So I was raised by a single parent, and growing up, I noticed a couple of things that were not particularly okay in terms of how my sister was raised. And it affected her mentally, nini. So when I was writing a piece, it's called Before My Daughter Is Born. And it wasn't about I was just imagining how we wish it would have been better for her. And so in the end, I imagined if I had a daughter, if I could do something myself, then what did I do? So I wrote a poem called Before My Daughter Is Born, and from then on, I have been put in different boxes, yani.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a very interesting statement that as a poet, you do poetry, but then other people look at you and they want to put you in a specific, they want to define you, they want to define your products and what you do and so on. But you don't define yourself in that way. Yeah, because you're more complex than that.
Yes, I even learned, like when you share on social media, when you share a poem about love or something like that, you get likes, a lot of likes, you get a lot of shares, nini. Hey, andika about expressways, police, nini. People are not there. So once I learned that, I started using that as well. So I will post up something, and it'll get traction to get more people to view my things. Then now I'll post what I want them to see. I want them to hear.
Yeah.
And that brings me to a point. I was asking someone, is an artist a leader or the reflection of the society? So there's a very thin line, yeah? So if you're a leader, you tell people we need to go this way. But kuna hiyo kenye Mufasa amesema resentment, yeah? If you are the reflection of the society, now you reflect what people are saying. Yeah.
So actually it's very interesting because you can reflect exactly as it is. You can reflect society exactly as it is,
yeah,
without suggesting ways of dealing with the problem that exists in that society. So then and I think tomorrow we will discuss this with Dr. Wandia Njoya, because I think that she will raise this issue. The whole question of is it enough for us to describe what we see in our society poetically, or can we suggest ways, can we problematize that? Do you see yourself going a little further than describing it?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. Like we as artists are the fourth estate by extension. So, and one of our roles is agenda setting. So until you go further, you cannot embody that role. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Speaking of human experience, I believe definitely it touches your emotion. and badala ya kubaki na hiyo emotion, you have to do something about it.
True.
So in the end, apart from just writing, we've had to join protests. We've had to do things. For example, there's a time we're looking at Nairobi, kukuwa na pedestrian crossings because zimewachwa vibaya for so long. So with Creative Spills, we went, tukatafuta paint, tukatafuta artists, tukamwatu trying to paint tao, nini. And after that, county wakakuwa involved. They came in and they started painting as well towards Westland. So it's definitely, the experience transforms also to action.
So as poets, we ask society, we ask tough questions of society. We ask questions about corruption, about gender inequality, about violence, about all sorts of things, about exclusion, you know, the fact that the abuse of public resources. We ask those questions. But I think that we also have this other thing, and I think, you know, maybe you can correct me, we have this other responsibility of challenging, you know, artists and say, look, I mean, we are also leaders. We don't, it's not the case that we, like, kwamba leadership ni ya watu wengine. Sisi wenyewe tunaweza kuwa leaders. Or we should never be. Should an artist actually aspire to be a leader, even a political leader? Should we take over leadership positions?
Yeah, we should.
One of the things I believe in is the fact that I believe that change will come when we individually accept the leader in us.
True.
Yeah, like
very interesting. Very interesting. So you have to discover the leader inside yourself.
Yeah.
Why? How does that happen? Really? Wengine we are yani sisi ni leaders lakini tumedeny
tuache kupoint peke yake tuanze kufanya pia sisi tujipoint.
Yeah, and that is what you talked about, like going beyond. See, about protesting peke yake ama kuangalia hapa kuna makosa, pia ni what can I do, right? And people say everyone wants change but no one wants to wash the dishes, sindio? So individually, vile Mu amesema, what can we do individually? And not unless we discover the leader in us at an individual level, change hatutaiona.
So as we wrap up, I want to just ask one question. So, you know, we work to transform our society, to make it better, and so on. In your mind, Willie, how does that society which we are seeking to have look like? Ingia kwenye creative world, ufanye imagination kabisa.
Yo, as an artist, as a human being.
As a human being,
yeah.
What? Yeah.
I believe in human dignity. And I really regard highly the freedom of expression. And I believe in a world where everyone is dignified, everyone has their dignity protected, and everyone can express themselves. However, I believe that is a perfect world for me, because I started by saying I am an expressionist. So all I do is express myself. Then people call that poetry. And the reason why I started poetry, because I've always wanted to express how I feel. And injustice huwa inanidetest sana. Hata ikiwa directed to someone else. So I really hate that. And when people cannot express themselves, I really get into their space, and I feel like amplifying that voice. So in a world where everyone can express themselves, I see that as a perfect world. Yeah.
So it's very interesting because you see the Kenyan Constitution is very unique because it protects artistic freedom alongside academic freedom, alongside scientific freedom. So we have freedom of expression, ambayo ni sawa kabisa. Lakini our constitution actually also protects artistic freedom. You are right to create and to imagine different worlds. And that is very unique. And I think that's something that really, you know, we should always lean on. Sure. You know, the artistic, yani the right to express yourself using whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mufasa, what type of Kenya would you like to see? You know, I mean, as a human being, as a Kenyan, but also as a creative person.
One of the things that I personally believe is Kenya will be a better place. If we will solve a lot of things if we improve the quality of life for everyone. Tuna raise fence kubwa na manini because kuna watu hawana na kuna watu wako na mingi. Kuna nyingi kuliko wengine nini.
So we minimize
I believe there's so much we can do. The country will be so much better. Because as long as you're making a decision thinking about everyone else, then easy inequality zitapunguka. I see quality education shule. I see quality health, like naona better healthcare, like naona ile OC. Wasepo wanakwanga wagonjwa mnabaki tu kwa nyumba, hamna hiyo do.
But you see now, Mufasa, we have elections coming next year, and we have all these guys who are all over the place, doing all sorts of things. How should we, as creatives, be involved in deciding about next year?
I think the problem is not our leaders. I think si tunadanganyananga kila wakati tukisema sijui leaders fulani wakitoka then Kenya itachange ama nini. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is us. I don't know a special village or town where leaders come from. Like these leaders come from within us. They're amongst us. So hawa watatoka na wengine tu kama wale watakuja because they're a representation of who we are.
True.
So I believe the change will come when we change ourselves. So I believe for us, our work is to change mindsets za watu.
True.
And that's why we're here. Ndio maana tuko hapa. Basically, change mindsets za watu. And I love the fact that poetry enables you to connect to the emotive side of someone. What we need is not surface revolution. What we need is a mindset revolution.
Yeah. What so next year, kama wasanii, where should we be going? Yani tutafuta chapa
nice. Wasanii tunafaa tukue front line ya ku spark the mind that will change the world, because again true leadership is in delegation. Even if we don't go that extra mile, if we spark the mind that will change the world, if we change perceptions, how people think, that is enough.
So this is the social function of creativity that we create. Of course, we must create to make our people happy. It's good. It's good. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with really composing about love, about relationships, and all these things. Yeah. It's good to do that.
Yeah.
It's really because that's part of our experience as human beings.
True.
Au sio?
Kweli.
Lakini at the same time, kuna kitu kingine ambacho pia lazima tufanye, because we are also part of the conscience of our communities. Mufasa.
Yeah. Now I wanted to say the other thing na hope inaweza fanyika in the near future. I believe we need to revolutionize our education. Like whatever we are taught in school is a lie compared to what is out there. The GHC yenye tunafunzwa shuleni uongo kabisa. The people that wanatuambia ndio the right people ama the heroes.
What would you like to see within the education?
Kabaka mtesa.
Truth. I just want to say the truth. Like,
but truth is history, relative, Mufasa.
History imefinywa, tunapewa kitu yenye watu wanataka peke yake tupewe. I want us to learn about the constitution in school.
Pin it down even more. What would you like to learn that you never learned in school? Tell me.
Activism.
Unanielewa? Because you see, part of the when you listen to Bakar Zain, hizo stories zote ambazo ametupatia za how artists have really worked to help our country become better. Do you learn those things in school?
No, we did not.
You never had, isn't it?
No,
Akina Latif Abdallah, hao jamaa wote na mambo ya meditation. You never learned that.
Schools is really, like school nambonga tu tomboya ali-assassinatiwa nje chemist.
Kabaka mutesa.
So guys, I mean, I just want to encourage you to continue doing the work you do.
Thank you.
I think you're doing amazing work. I think that, you just need to keep it up and inspire each other, work together, build networks across the country. Look at your social responsibility. Realize that this is a marathon. It's not short distance. And I think that staying loyal to the ideals of a better society, because as you say it, we would like a situation where everybody is living in dignity. And dignity means having good, reasonable food, shelter. Yani vitu ambavyo ni basic, sio?
Clean water, maze.
Clean water.
I came to appreciate what people with PWDs go through, not until my mom was hit by stroke, and I was taking her to therapy. Nampeleka building na hakuna ramp. Sasa ndo nasema, kumbe hivi ndio watu usikia, you get? So dignity, people, it's not universal, yeah, in specific spaces, yeah. Kuna vitu kwetu ni normal, someone else see an experience vitu zingine different sana, yeah. So I believe in a world where kuna dignity for everyone.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So guys, let's give it up for Mufasa and Willie. Thank you so much, colleagues. Nashukuru sana.
Thank you.
I think, Nick, back to you.
Thank you. A round of applause. Wapigiwa makofi tena Kimani Wanchogu, Professor. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, tukitaka kufunga jamvi la siku ya leo, we take this opportunity now to introduce on stage other great artists. He has traveled from 001, and I'm happy Abu is here. Asikie for the first time Kiswahili kile cha miondoko ya Kipwani, Kiswahili kilichohomwa na kuomolewa, Kiswahili kile sanifu mufti ushahiri. Ndugu wapenzi, tuweke mikono pamoja tumkaribisha huyu kaka kutoka Pwani. Is one of the rising poet artists doing a very unique style of poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Malenga 001. Keep on clapping, please. Keep on clapping, keep on clapping, keep on clapping. Malenga 001. Lakini Malenga, tafadhali usinirushie mabomu. Tafadhali kuwa na nidhamu kidogo leo. Karibu. Take it away, Malenga 001.
Simba na nyani walikuwa marafiki sana. Nyani akamwambia Simba, kwa vile mimi mwepesi naweza kupanda mti, wacha nipande huu mti mgomba, nichukue ndizi, nikiziangusha huku chini wewe uokote alafu tule pamoja. Lakini katika ile harakati ya nyani kupanda ule mti au ule mgomba, alikwaruzika, ikawa damu zinachuruzika. Zile damu zikichuruzika, yule simba pale chini akawa anaziramba, akawa haokoti ndizi, anaramba zile damu. Sasa nyani akawa anashangaa, mbona kila nikiangusha ndizi haziokotwi? Mbona kila nikiangusha haziokotwi? Akaacha kuangusha zile ndizi. Simba akamuuliza, vipi? Huko juu kwema? Nyani akamwambia, huko juu hakuna neno, shida iko huko chini. Sasa wewe na kiongozi wako, shida iko huko juu ama iko huko chini? Kalale nacho hicho. Kama mambo yenda kombo, kusema hatutawacha. Na harufu ya matumbo, usisingizie bucha. Usiseme ni mrembo kwa kuona kwenye picha. Tutaandamana sana. Miguu haina ushuru. Hatutofunga midomo kuiwacha ikanuka. Na yetu sio migomo, ni haki tunaitaka. Wacha kulaumu omo, sugua hayo mashuka. Tutaandamana sana. Tia gas kwetu Marashi. Sina sifa ya kichuzi kuabudu mimi mwenza. Kama haufanyi kazi, mimi nitakueleza. Nakwambia wazi wazi. Penalty nkushinda, kona utaiweza. Sisi hatutaki sifa. Ni kweli tupigania. Na kukemea maafa ni haki yetu pia. Wewe wataka kufa, waogopa kuzimia? Songora, tutaandamana sana mpaka vitambi viishe. Musiwe na wasiwasi. Maandamano si chuki. Musiwe na wasiwasi. Maandamano si chuki. Mume aongeze kasi kama mke aridhiki. Usiringe na risasi kumbe haina bunduki. Tutaandamana sana. Risasi kwetu peremende. Tutayabeba mabango na mashati tutatoa. Hatukubali uongo na ukweli twaujua. Mke asona maringo ndo mahari upungua. Tutaandamana sana. Usiogope ukweli kama unafanya sawa. Usiende kuishi mbali, ishi ulikochaguliwa. Unatuvuta kwa wali kwani tunkuwa njiwa. Kusema ni haki yetu. Mradi sio matusi. Chuma kilicho na kutu huwa sawa na nyasi. Kama huelewi kitu, chukua japo kamusi. Tunataka watu wazuri ambao watatujenga. Hatutaki mashairi na maneno ya kijinga. Na kama mashairi malenga bure na tunga. Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua kuwe na mwangaza, aliumba mwezi na jua. Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua tule vitamu, akaumba tende na halua. Lakini Mwenyezi Mungu alipoamua tutunge mashairi, alimuumba Malenga 001.
A round of applause, pigeni makofi, makofi kwa Malenga 001. Bila shaka mwalimu wangu aliniambia, Malenga, if you see the class is very silent, there are two things. Either the message is home or they are confused. Which is which, our people? Are we confused or the message is home? Yeah? All right, Malenga 001. Kwanza, why did you choose to call yourself Malenga 001? Was it your mother's will?
Jina langu Songora pia ni activism.
Jina lako ni activism.
Wale wanaotokea Mombasa wanajua tukisikia 001 tunafikiria nini? Ama tunamfikiria nani?
Hebu tupashe.
Kwa hivyo mimi nilitaka kuiondoa ile kasumba kwamba 001 ni mtu. 001 si mtu. Ama 001 si ya mtu. 001 ikiwa ni gatuzi la Mombasa ni letu sote kama wakazi wa Mombasa. Kwa hivyo kama kuna governor 001,
alright,
kuweza kuwa na Malenga 001.
Na pia kuwe na
MC 001.
Asante. Jipigieni makofi jamani. Second, why did you choose to engage in poetry? Na kwa nini hii style ya poetry?
Nitarudia kusema kile nilichokisema mwanzo. Situngi mashairi ili nilipwe. Lakini kwa bahati nzuri nalipwa.
Aha.
Kwa sababu natunga mashairi.
Ni coincidence.
Kwa bahati nzuri.
Bahati nzuri.
Nafikiri mimi nikawa mzee wangu Abubakar Zain.
Aha.
Sisi hatutaki kulipwa.
Aha. Lakini pesa zaja zenyewe.
Lakini zaja. Na Mombasa ushairi kama alivyoeleza mzee Zain, Abdulatif Abdallah alifungwa kwa sababu ya ushairi.
Alright.
Na washairi wengine wengi. Lakini je, kizazi chetu kinachochipukia tunajua kwanza kama kuna mtu ashafungwa kwa sababu ya ushairi. Lakini pia pili, je, tunafuata hiyo njia ya kuwa tukemee pale ambapo tunaona maafa? Washairi wengi, na si kwa makosa yao na wala si kwa na wakashifu, lakini tunafanya mapenzi, tunafanya mashairi ya harusi, tunafanya mashairi ya sherehe. Lakini iwapo tungejua ukubwa wetu kama washairi na ushawishi tulionao, basi tungeleta mageuzi makubwa sana.
Aha. Kwa hivyo kwa asilimia yako unaona, je, una ushahiri katika maeneo ya pwani kule na Kenya kwa ujumla, je, tumeweza kupiga hatua? Ama bado ni lelemana tu, kelele za bure, kelele za plastiki, kelele za chura, zimzui tembo kunywa maji?
Ushairi umepiga hatua, nitasema, kwa sababu mfano mdogo, kila Jumapili kuna redio zaidi ya 5 Mombasa zenye vipindi vya mashairi.
Alright.
Zaidi ya 5, na zingine vipindi vingine ni wakati mmoja. Kwa hivyo hii ina maana ushairi unapewa sikio. Lakini je, ni aina gani ya ushairi tunafanya?
Aha.
Naam.
Alright. Tukiangalia katika swala zima la Activism Week sasa hivi, tuko katika siku ya kwanza kusherehekea Activism Week. Na wewe kama msanii, je, unaona kuna uwezekano sisi tukitegemea kama taifa wasanii hawa wa kuandika mashairi na Malenga, kina Mofasa, kina Wilioeba, je, unaona pengine tunaweza tengeneza viongozi wale ambao tunawataka? Kwa mfano Malenga awe ni rais, Wilioeba ni waziri mkuu, tukiwa na Mofasa pale kiongozi wa finance.
Moja kati ya vitu ambavyo watu huangalia wanapotafuta kiongozi Songora, huangalia kwanza uelewa wake, ambalo hilo bila shaka tutakubaliana wasanii na washairi tuna uelewa mkubwa sana, ama tuna mawazo mapana katika mambo mbalimbali. Kwanza. Pili, tunatafuta pia viongozi ambao ni wajasiri, ambao tukiwatuma kutuwakilisha watalifanya hilo bila kuogopa. Hilo pia tutakubaliana nalo kwamba wasanii ni jasiri. Kwa mtu kusimama mbele ya hadhira na kumkashifu rais ama na kukemea, si lazima ukashifu ndio wewe jasiri, lakini kukemea jambo ambalo kila mtu yogopa kulisema, kila mtu yogopa kulitaja, huo ni ujasiri mkubwa. Kwa hivyo sisi kama wasanii wa ushairi, Mufasa au wengine wengi wote, ikiwemo na mimi pia, mimi nina imani tuna uwezo mkubwa sana na kushikilia nyadhifa za uongozi na kwa viongozi waadilifu sana.
Sasa tuna nafasi sasa hivi, si ni vijana sio? Ama vipi? Vijana hoye. Ni vijana sisi bana, na tundo hii bana, jamaa wanajipanga, na tushaona kwamba watufai, wana impunity, watuibia, watugandamiza, watuibia. Na nafasi ndio hii, kwa nini tusijipange na wasanii hapa kina Dofan Ulioheba, tukajipanga wakati mtu akachukua sehemu yake bana, tukaongoza ile taifa story kaisha. Ndio tuacheze kelele za chura za nje za kupiga kila saa kutunga mistari.
Songora, vijana Kenya ni 75%.
Asante.
Mwaka 2017 ni 13% ya vijana waliwania viti.
Aha.
Ni 9% peke yake waliweza kushinda nyadhifa za uongozi.
Naam.
Kwa hivyo ina maana kama 75% na moja kati ya requirements za kuanzisha political party,
naam,
according to the registrar of political parties,
naam,
ni kwamba uwe na 70% ya nusu ya kaunti zilizopo. Kwa mfano kama kaunti ni 47,
naam,
uwe na 70% katika kaunti 23.
Naam.
Vijana tunaweza hatuwezi?
Tunaweza.
Ni maamuzi.
Swali si langu. Vijana tunaweza hatuwezi? Tunaweza hatuwezi? Mbona tumelala? Nimeelewa. Vile tunaongea Kimombasa. Sasa pia nyinyi mmeanza kuzuba Kimombasa, si ndio? Kimombasa hawajazubaa, watu wako sawa kwa ngangari. Mombasa ndio wanakwenda mbio. Hiyo dhana ilipotea, ni potofu, sivyo? Malenga.
Naam.
Nimesema tuchukue hatamu, tuchukue uongozi tuende zetu. Manake hizi kelele za mimi kila kani kikaa ni agitations to agonizing. You know they have stolen. Wana Abu Zain akija hapa na Profesa Njogu watupigia philosophy na kutukumbusha pale tumekosea, tunapewa dahawa, tunazungumziwa. Shida ni moja, viongozi wabaya watoke, viongozi wazuri waadilifu wafanye nini? Waingie. Tuko na numbers. What is the problem? Nini natufanya tuwezi kuchukua uongozi? Tuko na 75% wasema vizuri. Tuna power, wasema vizuri. Tuna akili, maarifa, tuna ubunifu, wasema vizuri. Tatizo liko wapi?
Tatizo, na tumeshaanza kuliona, limeshaanza kudhihirika.
Naam.
Vijana huwa tugawanywa kwa misingi ya kikabila, misingi ya kitabaka, lakini jambo ambalo wanalitumia kutuchochea hisia sana sana huwa ni umaskini wetu. Kwa mfano, tunaweza ungana hapa ndani hii hadhira tukaamua kwamba tunamsimamisha Songora kama kiongozi wetu.
Aha.
Lakini tukiitwa kando na kiongozi, Malenga apewe 1,000,000, Mufasa apewe 1,000,000.
Naam.
Tunasambaratika. Kwa hivyo wao wanajua ni nini sisi hatuna, na wanatumia hicho kutukandamiza.
Kwa hiyo wajaribu kutuambia nini yani?
Tuache siasa za peni mbili, tuache siasa za leso na biriani, huwa nasema hivyo.
Aha.
Kwa sababu hizo siasa ndo mwisho wa siku utapewa shilingi 1,000, 2,000 leo, lakini hiyo 1,000 na 2,000 ndio ikusaidie miaka 5 ijayo. Je, itawezekana? Haiwezekani.
Aha. Na huu maskini tuufanyaje? Maana upo na wazidi. Covid tuongezea.
Kama kweli sisi ni maskini, kama kweli tuna njaa, hiyo njaa iwe sababu ya sisi kufanya maamuzi, kukaa chini na kufanya maamuzi ya busara na kuchaguana sisi wenyewe. Kama kweli tuna njaa, kama kweli hiyo njaa tunaisikilia uchungu, tubadilishe huo uchungu kwa mawazo chanya, alafu tufanye jambo sahihi.
Kuna mtu aninong'onozea hapa kwenye masikio na nakereka, nataka niseme niulize. I want to ask this question. Malenga, you have a following. Malenga, unasikizwa. You have a commanding voice. As you are presenting here, watu wamenyamaza kimya, wanasikiza. Are you aspiring to be a politician?
Yes, am I
Are you in 2022? What position? Where?
Sio 2022, lakini azma nayo, kwa sababu pia kikatiba ili kuwania nyadhifa kuna yale mambo ya msingi ambayo mpaka umeyatekeleza. Kwa hivyo niko katika hilo jambo, na more specifically na iwe on record hii, maana mimi naamini Mungu wangu hana hasara. Mimi nawania ama napania kuwania kiti cha ugavana Mombasa mwaka 2042, 2042.
Wow. Pigeni makofi. Lakini mimi nina tatizo ndugu yangu. 42. 42. Uenda jamaa shabadilisha katiba, kuna magavana tena, itakuwaje?
Kama hakuna magavana kutakuwa na cheo kama hicho. Lakini muhimu ni nyadhifa ya uongozi.
Kwa nini sio 2022? Maana ndio umeifa.
Kama nilivyotangulia kusema, kuna requirements zinahitajika both na IEBC, both na katiba ambazo kwa sasa sijazitekeleza.
Mimi nasikitika vijana. Unajua sisi tuna uwezo, tuna tajiriba, lakini tunajipostpone. Na washenzi wanazidi kuingia kutukandamiza. I am sure by the time fika 2042 ndugu yangu, ule maskini ndio utaja atakuwa bwana mabeseni sasa. Sasa unajua bwana vijiko maskini. Wakati utakuwa bwana mabeseni. Sasa sijui itakuwaje. Na hizo changamoto zitaongezwa zaidi za kuzuia. Sijui ni jambo atakana ulifikirie, uliangalie ni vipi, kwa sababu moja wapo ya kongamano tulikuwa nalo wiki mbili zilizopita pale katika National Theatre pale. Kuna vijana takriban ya 12 wajitokeza kwenye hadhira wakasema kwamba wanasema nyadhifa mbalimbali. Tunapiga shavu sana wakasema kwamba huu ndio wakati. Situongee kwamba vijana wachukue leadership wakati tujitokeze. Tunaacha makatel wana front watu wao in the name of young people, alafu inakuwa ni wale makateli bado wanaongoza katika taifa hili. So this is one thing. So as we wind up this conversation, Malenga 001, what is your parting short message to the young people that are following you online and also wale ambao wako hapa?
My parting short, binafsi nimeichukua hii kwa siku ya leo, nimeangalia ushairi wa Abdul Latif Abdallah.
Alright.
Ni ushairi ambao ni wa muda lakini unaishi mpaka leo. Kwa hivyo ni changamoto kwa wasanii wenzangu. Je, ushairi wako unaofanya leo utaishi mpaka vizazi vijavyo? Na je, ushairi wako unaofanya utaleta mageuzi yoyote either katika nyoyo ama hata katika miundo misingi ya nchi yako, ili tukukumbuke kama mshairi ambao uliacha alama?
All right, thank you so much, Malenga 001. As you exit the stage, jamaa pale ameniambia kidogo uguse piece moja tu, alafu tufunge jukwaa hili tuweze kuimba wimbo wa taifa. Tukutane kesho palipo majaliwa. Malenga 001, piece moja fupi sana ya kuweza kukera watu nafsi, angalau wajihisi.
Jana ilikuwa siku ya kinadada kimataifa. Jambo ambalo huzuia dada zetu wengi kufikia ndoto zao, huzuia kinadada wengi kufikia malengo yao, ni dhulma za kijinsia ambazo zinaona watoto wengi kuweza kupewa ujauzito katika umri mdogo, watoto wengi wa kike kuweza kuozeshwa kabla kufikia umri. Kwa hivyo nitaongea na wanaume wenzangu kwa siku ya leo. Mataji ninawavika wanawake wote hapa ndani. Waume sina hakika niwaeke fungu gani, maana nimetatizika. Mume wa kweli ni nani? Kama waweza mbaka mtoto wako mwenyewe, wewe ni sawa na paka, kunguru na hata mwewe. Na pindi tukikushika, hukumu yako mawe. Msaidie yatima kwa kumsafia nia, sio taa akizima na wewe wamuingilia. Kisha ati akisema kifo unamtishia. Hao wafanyaji kazi zao ni za nyumba, si kukupa kitulizi kama pipi wa mramba. Mwisho wake ni kitanzi, ushampachika mimba. Usisingizie uchu, sote hapa tuko nao. Utamrambaje chuchu mtoto wako, mwanao? Roho yako iko chachu na ngumu kushinda mbao. Sema nalo litulie hilo mbwa lako koko, na tena ulifungie kila sehemu uendako. na nyama linunulie, usiibe ya wenzako. We ni chui kitandani, nenda kalile na chui. Wako tele mbugani, wala hatukusumbui. Muangalie chui gani, wala lolote ujui. Ninamuomba Wahabu, mume yoyote mhuni, kwa hukumu ya muadhibu na amtupe kaburini. Hata na mimi Rajabu, kwani nimezidi nini? Asanteni.
No applause. Thank you, Malenga 001, with that piece celebrating girl child. Of course, by word of word, punishing those with impunity. Wale washenzi ambao wanaona watoto wadogo kama ndio viwanja vya mpira vya kuchezea. Semeni shetani ashindwe. Shetani ashindwe. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I request we all rise because this marks the end of our session this morning. We all rise. Mr. DJ, tupatia wimbo wa taifa. Tuweze kufunga rasmi kikao cha siku ya leo. Tukutane kesho palipo majaliwa. Tusimame wima. Kusubiri Afrika Mashariki.
Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Asante sana, jipigeni makofi ndugu wapenzi. Asanteni sana kwa kufika katika shughuli ya leo. Tuonane kesho palipo na majaliwa.